Good evening, everyone. Today is May 11th, 2026 at 7:30. Calling the City of Avon Lake Council meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to ask Mr. Mullinex and Mr. Ferry to come forward and lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you back up here in a minute. I would ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Here.
Ms. Gentry?
Here.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Here.
Mr. Koss?
Here.
Mr. Reynolds?
Here.
Mr. Shamir?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mayor Stetzel?
Here.
Law Director Ebert?
Here.
Finance Director Crossy?
Here.
Public Works Director Liskovic?
Here.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for April 27th, 2026. Does anyone have, those were published and presented by the clerk. Does anyone have any changes or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, the minutes will be approved as submitted. Next on the meeting is correspondence. Does anyone have any correspondence to bring forward? We have received a lot of emails, I will say, on the topic of the power plant that get responded to, hopefully. Some I have not been able to respond to yet, but I'm trying. Yes, Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you very much, Council President. I responded to over 21 emails today. Forgive me if I didn't do it on Friday or Saturday. Sunday. We had a family wedding, and it was wonderful, as weddings are supposed to be, but I put family first. So today I responded to those, and 12 or 13 phone calls, and I'm going to just send these down to Mrs. Rossmarin to submit into the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fenderbosh. Anyone else with any correspondence for this evening? All right,
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
I also received, I also received several emails, again, having trouble keeping up with all of them, coming in regarding the 1219. And most of the concerns were regarding the quantities and whether or not there was adequate economic analysis of the cost, the increased cost to the city with the additional units. That was one of the primary concerns.
All right, thank you. All right, any further correspondence? Seeing none.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let's try to get our hands up. Go ahead,
So-
Mr. Shamir.
I would like to ditto the same thing. I've had quite a few emails as well as phone calls over the past few days and over the weekend with respect to 1219. And the discussion again is on density and the fiscal impact to the city and understanding what that fiscal impact is and how it will be dealt with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shamir. I will take a longer look down this way and down this way. All right, seeing no hands coming up, I will move on to the proclamation. Mayor, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Council President. I have a proclamation for National Safe Boating Week, which is May 16th through the 22nd. I'd like to have Mr. Bill Ferry and Mr. Chuck Mullinex come up. Right here. We'll face the public. And then when we're done, you can speak to the podium.
Very good.
All right, so, thank you, gentlemen, for coming. They're with the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary and have a lot to do with safe boating on our waters. So we have a proclamation for you for the National Safe Boating Week. Whereas for over 100 million Americans, boating is a popular recreational activity. People enjoy spending quality time together, boating, sailing, paddling, and fishing. U.S. Coast Guard and the National Safe Boating Council, along with federal, state, and local safe boating partners, encourage all boaters to enjoy America's waters responsibly. And whereas, on average, 650 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the U.S., 75% of these fatalities caused by drowning due to human error or poor judgment, not equipment failure or environmental factors. And whereas by practicing basic safety procedures, such as carrying life-saving emergency distress and communication equipment, wearing a life jacket, attending safe boating courses, participating in free boat safety checks, and staying sober while navigating, we can help ensure boaters on Americans' waters stay safe throughout the season. And now, therefore, I, Mark A. Spetzel, Mayor of the City of Avon Lake, do proclaim May 16th to May 22nd, 2026 as National Safe Boating Week in Avon Lake, and I urge all those who boat to practice safe boating habits and to wear a life jacket while boating. Signed this 11th day of May.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Here you go. If you'd like to say a few words, please go to the podium.
I would. I just want to say thank you to the council, thank you to the mayor for the proclamation. Just this proclamation tells me that you all believe in safe boating, and the only other thing I would say is don't drink and drive. That's a problem.
I'll just give a few tips about boating safety. We know we don't have time to do a full boater safety class here in council, but if there was any one rule that you could follow, it's just to wear that life jacket. Something on the order of 85% of deaths on the water are due to drownings, and 85% of the people who drown didn't have a life jacket on. It's that simple. If you wear it, you live. If you don't, you won't. If we could get people to do that, it would be really great. So everybody in Avon Lake, this is a big boating community, one of the largest boat ramps around. I see boats parked in driveways all around town. It's a really fantastic place, and we all can be safer and live for our families and for our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. All right. Next on the agenda is public input. Members of the audience shall be permitted to speak only once, up to 5 minutes, on any topic. So if you want to come forward, please stand, raise your hand, come on up, and I'll recognize you, and we can get started. Welcome. Please state your name and the city you live in.
My name is Ann, and I live in the city of Avon Lake. Okay. So tonight I'm speaking.
Yeah, what's your last name? We know.
Oh,
what it is.
Hedgeko.
Thank you.
H-E-C-Z-K-O.
Thanks, Ms. Hedgeko.
You're welcome. For those who don't know me, good evening. Tonight I'm speaking regarding case number CTA 26-1, establishing the Lakefront Mixed Use Overlay District in connection to the CTA 26-2 involving the zoning map amendment. Before I discuss zoning, density, or redevelopment standards, I want to express why this lakefront matters so deeply to me. Lake Erie is personal to my family. My father was an Avon Lake fireman, and he tragically passed away in a breakwall accident. Ever since then, the lake has been a place where I go to reflect, think, and honestly talk to him. That shoreline is not just another redevelopment site to me. It represents memories, healing, and connection. It's a part of who I am and a part of who Avon Lake is. So let me be very clear tonight. I do want redevelopment. I want this property transformed into something meaningful and beautiful for Avon Lake. I want future generations to enjoy access to the waterfront. I want investment, opportunity, and thoughtful process, but not this way. Not without a complete plan, not without operational funding discussions, not without environmental transparency, and not without public-private partnership clearly identified, and not without the community understanding the long-term financial obligations tied to this project. Right now, what is before the city is not a final development plan, it's a framework. And framework matters because they establish the rules for future developers and how they will operate for decades to come. As of March of 2026 Planning Commission hearing, there was no finalized comprehensive development plan presented publicly. In fact, the redevelopment infrastructure plan and the development economic model still does not exist publicly. Yet we are being asked to move forward with major zoning changes that will permanently shape our future in Avon Lake shoreline. At that hearing, city officials referenced the Gensler Master Planning Concept available on the website. However, Gensler is not Avon Lake, and their work was presented as an interim planning framework intended to demonstrate possibilities, not a finalized development strategy adopted by the community. Additionally, Dr. May stated that the Planning Commission focus was on zoning itself without the broader financial mechanisms and policy decisions that would rest with the City Council. Respectfully, those cannot be separated. Zoning established the foundations for density, traffic, infrastructure, emergency services, environmental impacts, utilities, shoreline protection, and taxpayers' responsibilities. Once those standards are adopted, the direction is set. I want to point out the important timeline issue. In 2015, the Avon Lake Power Plant announced its intention to shutter operations. However, the facility continued operating for additional 6 years before the final closures occurred in 2021. That matters because the Avon Lake 2019 Comprehensive Plan was created during a period when the plant was still operating. The community's long-term planning vision at that time was built around a very different assumptions regarding industrial use, economic development, and waterfront transition. Now we are discussing a completely different redevelopment model, but yet there has not been a comprehensive public reevaluation aligning this proposal with today's realities. There's also been a very little public discussion regarding the long-term operational costs associated with this redevelopment. What infrastructure improvements will be required? Who maintains those improvements? What are the long-term costs to taxpayers? What private-public partnerships are currently on the table? What industrial partnership has economic development or community development officials actively brought forward for consideration? And what is being asked to trust that funding discussions are occurring behind the scenes as referenced in the key recommendations when the public deserves to know what those discussions really look like? The city has opportunities for industrial and commercial growth, including along Pin Oak Parkway. So the question becomes, what serious industrial recruitment efforts or partnership opportunities have been explored before this dramatic transformation, one of the most sensitive and visible waterfront properties in our community and our county? These are not minor questions, these are the fundamental questions. I also deeply concerned about the environmental aspect of this project. Where are the EPA or voluntary action program process at? What groundwater testing has been completed? What remediation activities still need to occur before redevelopment moves forward? And important, the redevelopment of approximately 5 acres of submerged lease in Lake Erie. That alone should warrant significant public discussion regarding environmental stewardship, shoreline protection, and long-term lakefront impact. The interim development agreement also raises an important concern. The agreement states that demolition and active remediation activities are to be completed before closing. However, identifies utility infrastructure, lakefront water intake structures, and temporary stormwater protection facilities intended to remain on site. I might need another 2 minutes if that's okay. And we have one more page left, a half a page.
Does anyone have any objection? Ms. Hedgeko hasn't been here before. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Residents deserve to know exactly what that means. What remediation remains, what materials are brought onto the site, who bears responsibility, and what are the environmental liabilities? How much public funding could ultimately be involved? The community does not simply want concepts and frameworks. The community wants a clear, transparent financial responsibility plan. I'm also concerned about the scale and density proposed on the lakefront mixed-use overlay development. The proposal references an average of 60 residents units per acre. The word average leaves too much room for interpretation and future escalations. Building height reaching up to 100 feet along Lake Road would permanently alter the character of the shoreline and surrounding neighborhoods. Once those precincts are established, they cannot simply be undone. Avon Lake has always balanced growth with quality of life, neighborhood character, and stewardship of Lake Erie. That balance matters. The lakefront is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It deserves transparency, it deserves accountability, it deserves environmental clarity, it deserves financial honesty, and it deserves a complete plan before irreversible zoning decisions are made. I love this lake, I love this city, and because of that, I'm asking tonight that the city slow this process down, continue public engagement, fully disclose the financial and environmental implications, and provide the community with a complete roadmap before moving forward. And I also made copies for you all.
Okay. Who would like to come up? Come on up, your name and city you live in, please. Hold on a second.
Just 1
She's
second, I've got to
getting
reset
her-
the clock.
We gotta get our clock reset.
Okay, now you're good.
Becky Grunick, I live in Avon Lake, and I'm sort of new to this. I've never been in front of this group before to talk about this 1219, and I have a lot of concerns, and I'm sorry I'm a little late to the party here. But the first thing I'm concerned about is, who's who are all the, consultants, lawyers and whatever. And, I know there's a couple law firms involved. I know there's no financial advisors. I emailed with the mayor a couple times and I never got a response. So I'm assuming there's no financial advisors that have been involved in this project. As far as lawyers go, I'm not sure who's representing the city in the business aspects of this. I know that we have, and I'm not sure, Todd Davis, if he's counsel to the city or if he's CEO of Hemisphere. I don't know if you're operating in two different capacities here.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
or
but
what
Todd
basically.
Davis is representing the city along with Burns and Agner, and Mr. Maloof is here. on our
Okay,
behalf
okay,
as
so
well.
on the business aspects beyond the environmental.
Yes.
So everything.
Yes, and
Okay,
Mr. Verdan,
okay.
the Verdanis and Mr. Gross are.
Okay, and
the
there's
environmental
really
folks.
nobody that's involved on the financial side representing the city as far as advisor.
Advisor, well, we're relying on the attorneys to help us with all that, along with our finance director.
Well, usually not on the, the financial, the feasibility side, it wouldn't be a lawyer.
Okay.
I was a
Thank you.
lawyer. I was a lawyer for 26 years at Key Bank. I used to oversee all the commercial workouts in bankruptcy. So while I'm not an expert in environmental law, I'm familiar with Todd Davis and, different aspects of workouts and foreclosures and restructures of very large projects. And we've been involved in many environmental matters too, so I know how expensive they can be. And basically, mine's sort of a stream of thought here, because a couple of my concerns are the financial aspect of it. The fact that we have not run any numbers yet is beyond belief for me, maybe because I'm a banker, but I can't believe that nobody has looked at the financial numbers. To me, you're putting the cart before the horse by not looking at that. You're looking at everything else but that first. The other thing, I know we have the contract with Allard, and my concern is too, what if there's a dispute down the road? What if there's a default in the agreement? What if there's a problem with the environmental cleanup? Allard was created for this project only. I mean, say we get a judgment, are they even collectible? Has anybody looked at their financial statements? I don't know. And I sent an email to, I think, the mayor back in July of 2024, and I never got an answer on that. And I don't understand why there isn't any interest at all in looking at the numbers before we keep moving forward on this. And also on the TIF, I'm concerned that, if there's a problem on the TIF, what's that going to mean to the city and also to the school? And plus, you're going to be involved with another developer here that's going to do the vertical development. I mean, this is my understanding. And you're not going to know who this company is. You're not going to know anything about them. You're not going to have a chance to vet them. So, I mean, are they a strong company or not a strong company? But there's going to be another party involved in this. And I'm not sure that Avon Lake has any say in who that party is going to be. So that's a concern of mine too. Let's see. And also, again, the environmental cleanup cost. I've been involved in those cases, and I know how expensive it is. And personally, I don't speak for Key Bank or any bank, but when I was working for the bank, I don't think that a bank would have ever financed this project because of all the risk involved here. I mean, it's incredible risk. And people just don't like to put a mortgage on property, even though you don't have title to it. We've been nailed before when we just held a mortgage. So the cleanup cost to me is a very scary thing. And also in the contract, I read there's no requirement of a covenant not to sue. It's optional to the city. And if the city chooses, they can do the covenant not to sue, but it's on their nickel. I don't know why, as part of that agreement, we didn't require the seller to do a covenant not to sue, because basically that would eliminate the state's ability to come after the city of Avon Lake. Not so much, with an NFA. And again, the last thing here, because I'm running out of time, is the infrastructure, the stress on the roads, the stress on the city services, the police, the fire department, the sewage, everything. And, just even, as you had mentioned before, we didn't even pass this levy to basically fix our existing roads. What if we have to add to that infrastructure because of additional traffic, because of all these units that everybody's looking at? Who's going to pay for that? 1 minute?
Go ahead.
Okay, so that's a concern of mine too, is who's gonna pay for that infrastructure? Because as you said before, that a lot of the people that would, live in those units probably aren't gonna work in Avon Lake. So where's that revenue gonna come from? We can't pass a levy, we're probably not gonna generate a whole additional, a lot of money on that. So I have concerns the whole way around the block on this, and I don't understand why people can't be a little bit more patient. I'm not saying don't do the project at all. I'm just saying, why can't people be a little bit more patient and really put some time into this and really understand the business issues and the impact on the city and also the infrastructure? Okay.
Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Okay.
I would say relative to the finances, that we have received a lot of financial information in the past couple of weeks, and I know that our finance director has looked that over. We are subject to a non-disclosure pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 9.66, and but we have received a lot of that information. Okay, thank you. All right.
Jeff, I'm sorry. Would you repeat all that? We couldn't hear you back there.
Oh, I'm
It's
sorry.
important that we hear you.
I think what I said was that we have received a lot of financial information in the last couple of weeks, that our finance director has been reviewing that for us. It's under the non-disclosure agreement, under Ohio Revised Code 9.66, but we have been getting information. It took us a while to get it, but we are reviewing it, and the finance director does have some of it. You want to come forward, Mrs. Cole?
Lois Cole, C-O-L-D. I'm more of a, I don't know if I can ask you a question as opposed to just a comment.
If
but,
I can answer it, I will.
Yeah. So is there not going to be a vote before you get that financial information and study it? And I know that you're under that you can't disclose it to us, but at what point will we ever know anything about the financial end of this then?
There is some information that we've been allowed to share, that we've been provided actually today, that we will share. Relative to your questions, we did receive financial information. We have on the agenda where I think Mr. Reynolds is going to make a motion to postpone the third reading until May 18th for us to have additional time to review it, for our finance director to have additional time, for all the council to have additional time to review the information before we vote.
But we will never know about that financial information?
At some point, I think information
vote,
will
I mean.
become forward, but I don't know when it will be coming forward, if and when before the vote on the 18th.
I guess that's my biggest issue. There's so much that we don't know, and it's going to come, and we'll know sometime. And the cart before the horse comment is exactly what I have thought. It just seems backwards to me. And this is so important. It's such a big deal. And, I hear that, we're going to have all these new people living there, so, it's going to help bring tax money in. But, we're growing and growing and growing in Avon Lake as far as residents. And our taxes keep going up and up and up. And then just the overview, it doesn't have anything, it has something to do with this, but, we can't fix the streets. And we look at our taxes going up and everything that's happening right now. This, I think, is hitting me at least, and maybe a lot of other people in the city. It's just a lot right now, and we need to know more about it. It's sort of scary. Being a retired person, what is this going to cost me down the road?
All right, thank you.
Thank
For your
you.
time and your attention. All right, who else would like to come forward? I'll get you next. Come on up, Mr. Schneider.
Yep. Mary
Good
Schneider.
evening.
Avon Lake, good evening. Yes, I did email everybody on council, and a couple of, Mr. Spenderbosch and Mrs. Gentry got back to me. Thank you very much. I want to remind the council that most residents of Avon Lake do not want a 1,200 unit housing development on Lake Road that would create a huge increase in our population with the attendant increase in traffic, congestion, and cost to the city. No ordinary resident who came before council during the last few weeks has said they wanted this, and I think this reason alone is sufficient to reject the rezoning of this parcel of land at 1219. I agree with Mr. Shamir that rezoning this parcel would greatly reduce any leverage that we have with Allerg to change any aspect of the interim agreement and would force the city to accept the agreement as it is. And this would include not only the construction of the 1,200 unit apartment buildings, but also require the city to purchase 21.5 acres of land for $15 million from Allerg for the lakefront park, which would be primarily used by the people in those apartments and benefit them. It would not have reasonable access for the people of Avon Lake. And I think that a lot of people are just so mesmerized with, oh, this wonderful park, which they think will be the second coming of Lakewood Park and Huntington Park, that they're not looking at the actual costs of this or the costs of what this development is going to do. And I would remind everyone that Allerg is getting this big, fat 30-year TIF for $60 million, and there won't be any additional tax revenues on this land for the schools or the city for 30 years. And that means we're going to lose out on hundreds of millions of dollars in tax revenues. And we don't know what kind of infrastructure cost we're going to be saddled with for the 1,200 unit apartment buildings or for this park, because not only we have to pay $15 million for the park, we have to pony up money to develop the park and to maintain it. And so there are just a lot of unanswered questions about this agreement. And really, why are we doing this? You know, Allerg doesn't need us to subsidize this so that they can make money, okay? If they can't break ground and make money on their own, well, that's too bad for them. But I think they can. They don't need us to subsidize this for them. And, you know, the fact that we can't pay for improvements to existing, you know, roads and sewers, we don't have money for that in the budget. Well, how on earth are we going to be able to pay for future infrastructure costs with this huge development, which, by the way, this is not organic growth, this is not planned growth, this is just, you know, it's really huge. I don't think people really appreciate this. Are we even going to be able to widen Lake Road to accommodate, you know, this development if the development is 10 feet set back from the road? I mean, this is insane. So we can't go on like this. I mean, you have a fiduciary duty to look out for the interests of the taxpayers and the citizens of Avon Lake who live here now, not for the people who might be living in that development, you know, in future years. I'm sorry, money's important. We don't have answers on the money, and we can't just sign away, you know, 30 years of tax revenues, you know, for a greedy developer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Schneider. All right. Come on up, and I still can't pronounce your last name, and I apologize.
Well, that's okay. When somebody teaches me, I'll know too.
Your name and city, please.
My name is Mike Cernovernia, Avon Lake.
Go ahead.
Talking about diabetes. I'm what you would call a health nut. 95% of diabetics have type 2. 5% of diabetics are recorded as having type 1. Now, the major causes of diabetes, and all pre-diabetics are headed to type 2 diabetes. The major causes of diabetes, and I have to type this up and give it to Valerie because I was busy today. The major causes are, one of them is when people have bad cholesterol known as lower density level cholesterol, and then their doctors prescribe a statin drug. Now, the bad cholesterol is easily reversible by a simple change in diet. And it's on the list of my acidic fake food diet. Just eliminate them and the cholesterol will go to normal. Not taking the statin drug which statin drugs inhibit the liver from producing cholesterol, and the liver also needs sugar. So when the sugar goes to the liver, the statin drugs inhibit the liver, and they kick the liver into the bloodstream, creating diabetes type 2, creating prediabetes. Another major cause of creating type 2 diabetes is high blood pressure drugs, HBB. High blood pressure drugs force the liver to leak sugar into the bloodstream, creating more diabetes, prediabetes, diabetics, and diabetes type 2. I'm not doing very well speaking.
You're doing just fine. Take your time.
Okay, so the common factor for the liver is the statin drugs and the high blood pressure drugs. By eliminating them, in which I will type that up, we would be able to reverse billions of dollars going from taxpayers across the country, here and even in Lorain County, Avon Lake, where there would be such a surplus of money with certain cures and reversals that all local, county, state, and federal governments within the United States would be able to balance their budgets and pay down their debts, which would save you guys a lot of trouble hiring police, firefighters, paramedic firefighters, the whole works. And it should not be ignored, because I gave the information to the Avon Lake Police. It didn't spread out through them. I gave the information to the Avon Lake Fire Department. It did not spread out to any of them. I've given the information here, and I'm hoping that you guys are holding on to the information that was supposed to be given to you. Because this, if we ignore this, what we're doing is we're letting Big Pharma bleed us dry. They're using the doctors. I could explain a whole lot more, running out of time. And what I'm saying is all type 2 diabetes and all pre-diabetics are reversible. As for type 1, with Ceylon cinnamon, not cassia cinnamon, the FDA allows 95% of the cinnamon to be cassia cinnamon, which the World Scientific Organization calls the bastard type of cinnamon. Makes everybody worse. It creates weight gain. It worsens all diabetics, creates other medical problems. The only cinnamon in the world that they accept is Ceylon cinnamon, which only 5% is allowed in this country. And growing Ceylon cinnamon in the southern parts of the United States would be an ideal way to make not only create a lot of jobs, that Ceylon cinnamon could be used across the entire country. So I'm going to type it up, give it to Valerie. Hopefully all of you will look at it and try to prove me wrong, so you'll know. And I'm going to end there.
Thank you very much. She has passed along your emails that you've sent to us, and we are paying attention. Thank you very much for your advocacy.
Thank you.
All right, who else would like to come forward? We're still in public input. Hold on, I have somebody over here. Sorry. Welcome, sir.
Hi, my name is Tom Plass. I live in Avon Lake. So I'm probably going to get a lot of boos from that side of the room, but I represent, I think, a younger generation of people in Avon Lake, residents who are moving here and growing, that want to see this be developed, and I think everybody does, but I mean, the opportunity to have something like this in our backyards is just crazy to me, that we could do it. So I've always thought it's, wild that Avon Lake, is on the water and you can't get to it essentially anywhere if you don't own property on the water. That's sad to me. So here we are, sitting here as citizens fighting developers who actually want to come and give us this, opportunity to enjoy that, and be able to sit at restaurants and see the water and a park, whatever. A developer needs this zoning, obviously, to make it feasible. I know, there's talks about how, we don't want this many units and that many units and things, but if they can't make it feasible, then it's never going to become anything. And, we want them to, so I think we should be supporting them in that. I know there's a lot of details need worked through with infrastructure and things like that, but people, like everybody's been saying, this is a once in a lifetime development, but it's also a once in a lifetime development. I think that we have developers who want to come here and spend hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to do something for us, is what I think. If for some reason this never worked and, you know, a developer says, hey, you know, we can't get so many units or whatever to develop the property, we might as well just left the power plant. It almost looks worse than it did before. You know, so I think we need to be giving them all the tools they can to do it. Like the park, as far as that goes, you know, the Metro Parks at midnight last week, the guy who was talking essentially, you know, that the city of Lorraine only has to pay utilities, essentially is what he was talking about. You know, it's like, I think that should ease a lot of pain and, you know, fears that people have with running this park eventually. So as far as transparency goes, that everybody talks about, that like, oh, you guys aren't talking about financials and stuff like that. You know, I look at it like the citizens elected everybody up here, so we should be trusting you guys to read the stuff and tell us. You know, so like if there's something in these financials that you guys got a couple weeks ago that everybody's going, oh my God, why can't we get them? That's why we elected you to read it. You know, we elect government officials to tell us what to do, you know, and interpret things whether or not we like it or not. But so that's my vow of support for anything. I think this is a great opportunity. So
Thank you,
yeah.
Mr. Plass. All right. Come on up. Welcome.
Ann Kimball, Avon Lake, and so I repeat everything everybody said, so I'll save you guys all of that. My great-grandfather came here from Maine to help build that power plant, so I've had family members in Avon Lake for over 100 years. Then he went to work at that power plant. My grandfather helped construct an expansion. So that power plant had a lot in our history. I have a brick in my basement, but I don't mind it, that it's not there. It needed to come down. That's what formed the first 100 some odd years of it. Now we need to look forward to the next 100. And going into financial debt, not having a clear path on how we're going to pay for this is not, it's not good for the city.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to come forward?
Sure.
Good evening, Mr. Phillips. Welcome again.
Gerald Phillips, Avon Lake, over a 20-year residence. Also, as this lady indicated, who's representing the city? Well, I'm not. I'm representing the residents of Avon Lake. I'm a 50-year certified public accountant, 49 years tax attorney, real estate developer attorney. So I'm an expert. Not for the developer, but I'm an expert for the residents who are in this room. I have a question. I got something today, or at the meeting, there's changes, okay, to 1219. Where were they where were they? How were they arrived at? And when were they arrived at? There has been not one open public meeting where any of the changes to 1219 were discussed. I brought it up in 2 previous meetings. When were these developed? In a closed meeting behind closed doors? Talk about transparency? There isn't any. Everything's hidden. The mayor held stuff for 27 months as a mayor. That's totally improper. That's really malfeasance. He should be removed from office. How about my changes? Let's look at my changes that are not in there. All right? We still don't have a landscaping plan for 121905K. It's not in there. The changes that you made on 121905 development standards, you know, those are meaningless. It's a big loophole. It says the developer will reasonably cooperate. And then in 3 it says, if the city has adopted this plan. The city's never going to have that plan. The applicant's never going to do it because this city doesn't do planning. This city doesn't do planning. Do they have a master infrastructure plan like Avon? Do they? No. Do they have a future land use plan like Avon? No. They don't. So who's going to protect the city from the infrastructure plan when you don't have any? So there's other changes that need to be added, which you totally ignored. Besides the landscaping, there's the lot coverage. They can put 100% buildings on any parcel. And there's no requirement as far as the dwelling size. Nothing about accessory and temporary uses. You totally ignored that again. My 121914 talks about impact studies that are required. You don't have anything in there about a comprehensive infrastructure plan for streets and roads, a park improvement maintenance plan for park acquisition, a financial impact study upon the financial condition of the city, including tax revenues and costs of services. You got nothing. You got nothing. You know, this was drafted 2 years ago, okay? It was attached to the IDI. It's part of the PSA. You know, this should have never been done. It should have went to Planning Commission and Council before it was attached to the agreement. So talk about transparency. Let's talk about spot zoning. 1219 is a district that's only going to apply to the power plant property. One parcel, that's a definition of spot zoning. In order for this to be legal, it must be based on the health, safety, welfare of the community, not tailored, okay? And what that means is you got to look at the comprehensive infrastructure in that in order to rezone to that district and that property. And if you don't, it's illegal. Also, the IDA basically indicates that, you know, the administration, which is defined as the mayor, is supposed to reasonably cooperate and advocate and support this zoning change. Also, the TIF. What's ironic is the mayor is a member of the Planning Commission, and he has this obligation to support, and yet he voted on it. He should have abstained. He has a conflict of interest. Let's talk about the submerged land lease. The city has no right to acquire that. Has to be negotiated in the future. And also, in the PSA, we give Ayler a access and construction easement to go across the parkland to get to the submerged land lease because they want 100% of the control of the beach. We don't get beach access based on the agreements that has happened. And this lady who talked about the covenant not to sue in section 2.c, she's actually correct.
Come on up. Good evening, Mr. Witt. Name and address,
Smith,
please.
Malachi Witt, Avon Lake. Been here 15 years. I've heard and read from council members the word misinformation. And I'm sure we're going to hear it again tonight, probably multiple times. And Rob Shamir has, for the last 3.5 years, has tirelessly been informing this community about what's going on with this. And he has more experience than everyone combined behind this dais with business dealings, environmental issues. So please, don't sit there and try to tell us that the person who's informing the community is spreading misinformation. Speaking of misinformation, there's council members that are they're trying to create this false narrative, this false urgency that this park is what's driving this whole thing. That there's this mob of residents that are just salivating on getting access to a park. And what's interesting here is that they use the term lake access. And last week, Steve Gross from Public Records sat there and told all of us that there are no plans for lake access. There's no environmental work being done on the beach for lake access, for beach access. So what I'm trying to say is that the misinformation here is that the residents are being led to believe that lake access means water access, and that's not what it means. Under the current plans, we're sure there might be a park there, but That doesn't mean you're actually going to get to touch the water. You can stand there and look at it. So again, this is just going back to the root cause, that there's lack of planning. There's lack of clarity. There's lack of information. And what's even more interesting is that under 219, and I just got my visual aids here, there's no beach access plan for 219. I think that's really important for everybody to understand because I think, pushing this narrative that the residents are pushing council members to agree to this because of lake access, we need to understand what that really means. Now, if we do nothing, we have 218, and under 218, the way that currently works is that the developer can only develop on 50% of the property. The other 50% has to be parking and green space. 50% has to be parking and green space. So what does that mean? So what that means is that under 219, we're paying $30 million for 22 acres. But under 218, we get free 21 and a half acres of free green space. And it comes with parking too. Free. So if it's green space, what is it going to be other than a park? There's going to be green space there, and we can compel the developer to make it a park. So why? Why are we going to spend a purchase price of $30 million to buy the same green space that we can get for free under 218? And then under 219, we are in perpetuity saddled with all of the costs that go on with that. Now, we can talk about the $60 million TIF. Sure, there's money for infrastructure, for remediation. Another misinformation fact that Ayler or the developer is going to take care of all the remediation. Steve Gross on Monday clearly made that clear that Avon Lake is responsible for the remediation under 219 of the parkland. So we will pay for that. So sure, there's $15 million in there for that, however you want to slice that money up. But the issue here is that we're talking about a 30-year time period. So where's the financial information? Where is the financial evidence that $15 million will take care of all the environmental issues for the next 30 years? And then the problem here is that it's not actually being cleaned up. Like, we're not taking the contaminants from the ground and removing them. We're not cleaning up the in-place, cleaning up the contaminants in the dirt. We're letting it sit there, stay there, and we're covering it with a cap. Steve Gross was talking about a 2-foot cap of soil and other concrete hard surfaces. And so what that means is that when we take possession, that we have to maintain that environmental protection, keeping those hazardous materials in place. And so that's 30 years of maintenance to make sure that that doesn't get exposed. And so I think what we're not talking about here is the long term. Like, sure, we've got money to buy the park, but where's the financial evidence that this is enough money to pay for all of that?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to come forward? All right. Oh, come on up. Welcome, Mr. Hunt. You have 5 minutes.
Yes. Todd Hunt, I'm attorney for Allard, Retzel and Andrus, 1375 East 9th Street.
Okay.
I want to emphasize that there is no project at this point. There cannot be a project until this zoning is in place. And there has to be an application to actually rezone this property to the LMUO. And with that, a detailed development plan, which will go through the Planning Commission, which will go through Council for approval.
Speak up a little bit.
So
I'm
this
not
is,
sure everyone
this
can
is
hear.
only.
I thought I saw someone put their hand
Okay,
up.
this is only a zoning amendment to the code, setting out the parameters under which a plan must comply.
Speak up, yeah.
That's brought in. Now, the revisions that were proposed today, late this afternoon, came from comments by council members over the last 80 hours. We worked over the weekend, a team, to put together some language, as well as today, to give to you to meet 3 different things that we were asked to do. One was to expand the traffic study provisions of your code, which we have done. This property fronts on a state route. It will probably impact Route 83, may or may not, but ODOT is then required to do a traffic impact analysis. And beyond, if it's required, beyond the half acre or a half mile radius from the property that's currently in your code. So I think this is very advantageous to you. And the way we worded it, it will be your traffic engineering consultant and ODOT who will determine the breadth of that area of the traffic impact analysis. The other request from council or a council member was that we specifically refer to the subdivision regulations in chapter 1219. We've done that. I don't think it's necessary. We would have had to comply with it anyway, but it is now in here. The third thing was that there was an issue about the timing of a park development plan. Now, any developer cannot be subject and held back waiting for the city to put forth a park development plan. So we have developed language in .05 of 1219 to make sure that the developer cooperates with the city, but cannot be held back because the city decides we're just going to veto any plan by sitting back and not doing a park development plan. So I believe that language that we put in, which is 3 different subsections, is helpful to the city to understand and helpful to the citizens to understand how that works. The city needs to step up and do a park development plan. You heard from Mr. Zemanek from Metro Parks last week. He was very clear that they want to help with this. And so we've been saying this for 4 years. An intergovernmental agreement between the Metro Parks and the city is what is needed to bring this forward and to pay for the maintenance going forward. I think at that point, I think I've touched everything unless there's some questions with respect to the revisions that were put forth today.
The only suggestion I have is in that 1219.06C that it also included such other code sections as applicable.
That's common sense, I guess.
Yeah, so I think that should be added. There may be other questions later in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on up. Welcome.
Thank you. Debbie Rutan, Avon Lake. I came to my first meeting ever 1 month ago, and you all got to meet me and talked a little bit then about how important it is that you listen to the people. Well, we had an election last week, and an income tax increase that was really a pretty modest request didn't fly with many residents, and I was so disappointed about that because I feel like that would have been step 1 for this project, because the community that I'm asking you to listen to was using the TIF, they were using the NDA, all in their mind, hearing these things, and they're not here. Not everybody's here, and I've only been at 3 meetings, and at 3 meetings I've heard a lot of things come up again and again and again. And I know that's what that is out there in the community. You all know that that's what's out in the community. I've only heard one young man today, first person I've heard speak in favor of this project as is, and he'd spoken 5 minutes and great generalities and things, and I'm not sure how much of what the opposing side of that he understands really in detail. I don't, and I've been to the last 3 meetings. I'm in the game late, so I'm asking you once again to listen to the people. That property is part of a lakeshore that is the most highly coveted item that we all value more than anything, barely less than what we care about our families. And many people, I'm new here, but many people have roots that I didn't understand why everybody was so mad about tearing down this eyesore over there. And to me, new person moving in, you don't know the history. People built that, they lived here, they raised their families here. And it's a very highly coveted jewel in the crown of our town. And it's so important to get it right the first time. You cannot hit rewind. So I'm, once again, here to ask you, please listen to the people. Tap the brakes. Let's get it right the first time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming forward. Anyone else? Come out of Ms. Wallace.
Hi, Beth Wallace, Avon Lake. Just a couple of thoughts. I never have anything pre-planned, so I apologize if I'm all over the board. When the developer was up, he said there's no project until the zoning is in place. But we've been discussing this project for years. Obviously, we have an overlay plan in place, and I believe there's also an option to vote on the B3 zoning. So there are zoning options with lots of plans and that have been talked about for years for this plot of land. So I think, I don't quite understand why saying if we don't have 1219, we don't have a project, because I think that's just misleading. I'm also really baffled and dumbfounded why there's changes, apparently because I just printed off the 1219 for a second time yesterday, I believe, to review it and just compare and contrast the 1218, 1219, and then come here today and there's changes, which apparently were just pronounced. So I'm concerned that there's voting on 24 hours. Okay, no voting today. Perfect. I apologize. So that's great, because the idea of voting on something that was just changed seems ludicrous. Not allowing you guys access time, adequate time to review, not allowing people adequate time. The comment about what's in here about the traffic study, though, in the changes, if we commit to the 1219, which has a maximum number of units, 1,200 units, yet is that being done, we're committing to a maximum number of units before a traffic study is completed? That seems backwards, and I could have it wrong. But if that's the sequence, it doesn't seem to make sense. Also, the economic plan, which has been brought up many times, that if it's available and has been shared, I know the community doesn't have it, but everybody's banking on the TIF. And so my final questions is, what happens if the school board vetoes the TIF? Where's our park? How do we buy the 23 acres? We can't fix our roads, so where is the money coming from for the 23 acres? Where's the, I'm hesitant to say remediation, the capping, so like covering it with some asphalt or some dirt? Where is that money coming from if the TIF is vetoed? And if by some chance the school agrees or some other method other than the 30-year TIF is devised, what happens, and I know there's multiple ways to do TIFs, but if we are not at max capacity, who's paying back the TIF? So if we don't sell 20, we sell 200 units and we have half the office's space vacant and half the retail space is vacant, God forbid, what's the plan to recoup all the same funds that are expected? And I think that's a lot of economic plans that at least the citizens haven't been privy to. So I'd hope to God you guys have it, and it'd be nice to be shared what you can, so that we are making informed opinions as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Davis.
So good evening, Todd Davis, outside Brownfield Redevelopment Council to the City of Avon Lake. Just wanted to clarify a couple of questions that have been raised through the discussion and to repeat a number of the answers that we've discussed over these past several years, especially with respect to the environmental issues. There was a question raised with respect to why not require a covenant not to sue instead of just a no further action letter in connection with this process. The primary reason is because of a timing issue. Typically, it's 9 to 12 months from the time an NFA is submitted to the state to receive a response and get a covenant not to sue. That timing did not work in the context of this development plan, so we chose an alternative path. We chose to work with our own consultant in order to identify all the environmental issues associated with this property. We chose to enter what's called technical assistance. That's a collaboration with EPA, sharing information, making sure that they're on the same page with respect to the environmental conditions associated with the property. And then we have the option to move forward and pursue a covenant not to sue thereafter. So that's the explanation. Many transactions are done in the state of Ohio solely based on a no further action letter. Very few enter technical assistance, which is the additional step that we took. And so I have absolute confidence that we will be addressing the environmental issues associated with this property comprehensively. It is not true that the developer is not, I should say ALERG is not paying for the remediation of the property. The requirement is that they remediate the property before it's acquired by the city of Avon Lake. As part of the agreement, we are going to place the final cover and make sure that there's enough money to do that work associated with the property. That's an absolute requirement in the purchase and sale agreement. The reason that we did that is that we need to integrate the remedy with the redevelopment. We need to do a park plan and then place a final cover. We don't want to move the soil, especially on a 23-acre parcel, more than once because it's very expensive. So that's the reason that we've outlined it that way. So that should, I think, address most of the environmental issues that were raised. With respect to the testing and the beach access issue and the submerged land lease, which keeps coming up over and over and over. Number one, there is a plan to do testing that we've described to City Council, both in the lake and in the beach area. Mr. Gross, and I actually spoke with Mr. Gross after the last public meeting. He was being very specific with respect to answering a question. The question was during his scope, his immediate scope with respect to receiving an NFA for the property, and on this piece of property, the 23-acre piece, is there going to be testing in the lake? Or testing in the beach area, or the proposed beach area. And so just to be absolutely clear, and certainly we can get Mr. Gross back to clarify that if necessary, there will be testing, both in the proposed beach area, which would be to the west of the submerged land lease, and we'll be working with EPA. Again, that's a water of the state, as I've explained multiple times, and we need EPA's permission and ODNR's permission to do that sampling, which we will pursue. With respect to the environmental issues, again, one of the reasons that I feel so comfortable about the environmental issues, and people may have disagreements with the way the State of Ohio Voluntary Action Program process works and the law, but the law and the remedies that I've been working on since 1994, when the Voluntary Action Program was passed, and I was involved in the passage of the program at the time, provides for the remedy that we've articulated in the plan. So we're following meticulously the law, and that's how remediation in the state of Ohio works. And so it's going to be no different with respect to this issue. I will remind everybody that there's a $15 million environmental insurance policy that protects against the what if we miss something during the process. And there's also additional funding that's available through the TIF, the $15 million, in the event that there is an issue with respect to that. So Those are the primary issues, and certainly if there are additional questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Anyone else wishing to come forward? Come on up, name and city you live in.
Scott Reshley, and I represent the owner of the Avon Lake Power Station, and I am a resident of Fort Mill, South Carolina.
Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing the comments that we've heard tonight, minus the part of being a greedy developer, which I do not think we are or I am. I can attest to that. And I know Todd and the other Todd have talked some about the LMUO, so I want to talk a little bit more about some of the long-term financial and economic impacts that the redevelopment of this site could bring to Avon Lake. I did share some information earlier today to council that could be made available. So I'm going to go through some of those numbers here verbally, and they can be seen and looked at by others later. The proposed overlay ordinance is not an approval of a specific development project. It is a framework and determines whether this site can realistically attract the type of large-scale private investment necessary to transform a former industrial power plant into a mixed-use waterfront district. And what I think is misunderstood and probably not appreciated is that the reality is that a redevelopment of a former coal-fired power plant is an extraordinarily complex and expensive undertaking. Before any residential unit, retail space, or public amenity can be delivered, a future developer must absorb the costs of demolition, environmental remediation, roads, utilities, shoreline improvements, structured parking, and public infrastructure. The overlay ordinance creates the economic flexibility necessary to allow those extraordinary costs to be supported by a future private investment. Under the potential redevelopment analyzed, the project could generate approximately $8.3 million annually in new property taxes at stabilization. Avon Lake Schools would ultimately receive the largest share of those revenues, as you all know, projected to be at more than $5 million annually after the TIF period expires. Even during the TIF period, schools, not the city or the residents, are projected to receive approximately, or even during the TIF period, schools are projected to receive approximately $156 million over 30 years, while the project, not the city or residents, the project generated tax increment, the TIF, funds roads, utilities, shoreline improvements, and public park infrastructure necessary to make the redevelopment possible. The redevelopment is also projected to create substantially reoccurring revenues for the city itself through municipal income taxes generated by future residents, employees, retail activity, and office uses. Dependent on employment assumptions, annual municipal income tax revenues are projected to range from approximately $536,000 to nearly $1 million annually. In addition, the construction period alone is projected to support more than 2,100 jobs and approximately $358 million in construction activity across Northeast Ohio. That activity supports contractors, suppliers, engineers, tradespeople, restaurants, service providers, and local businesses throughout the region. Equally important are the public improvements and the amenities that this redevelopment makes possible. The project framework includes approximately 23 acres of public accessible lakefront parks and open space. For generations, this portion of the shoreline was industrialized and inaccessible to the public. The redevelopment creates the opportunity to reconnect Avon Lake residents to the waterfront with trails, open space, and long-term public access. The redevelopment also modernizes infrastructure. It is new, creates new internal roadways and pedestrian connections, and establishes a sustainable long-term tax base in place of retired industrial facility. At its core, this is about whether Avon Lake wants to create the conditions necessary for transformative investment on this lakefront property. Without economic feasibility and zoning flexibility, it is unlikely that the strategy of redevelopment, tax base growth, infrastructure investment, and public access will occur. And one other thing as far as the comments around rushing this, I think, we've been here 5 years. We've been in front of council for 5 years. We've executed letter of interest, or the city has gone through approval process of NDAs, the city has gone through approval process of reimbursement agreements, the city has gone through approval process of the interim development agreement, and the city has gone through the approval process of the PSA, all of which included the things that we're talking about now. Now it's just getting into additional detail. So I appreciate your time and consideration.
Thank you. Is the information that you provided, is that on this sheet?
Yes, sir. Those are some of the numbers I talked about.
And that sheet's right there?
Yes.
We have, I thought you had more
Yeah,
copies
sorry.
of that.
I didn't make copies.
Okay.
I can, and give it to you afterwards.
Okay. I thought we had some more to hand out. Well, I guess we could take the ones that council has, because we, huh? Yeah. Go ahead. And then we can.
Speak over it, and then I'll hand it
I can
over.
print out some more, and someone can run down to the printer too, if someone wanted to do that.
Just so some folks can get them.
Sure. I could.
I'll go run that.
Well, you
No,
can't
you
leave
can't
the
leave
dais.
it. We can't
Council
leave.
President, would I be able to leave this forum?
No,
Okay.
not right now. Thank you.
Could someone from, could someone,
I don't know if Ramona's still here or not.
sir, if I could, if Valerie can print them from here, could our patrol officer go down and pick them up off of the printer and bring them back to us? That way the audience can have them?
Sure, if he knows where he's going.
You know where the printer is? You'll run into it when you go down to the end of the hallway and turn left. Jonathan can go. Jonathan, you know where it is, right?
Well, we still got to excuse him from the dias.
Can we excuse him, sir?
I'll make a motion to excuse
First,
Mr.
let me get that
Liskovic
printed.
from the dias to get copies.
Council?
Second.
Yeah.
Second.
Council printer, John?
All right,
Second.
call the roll. John, you can't leave yet.
John, you can't leave. Come back.
I haven't even sent it to the printer.
You have to wait.
Here's the order.
Thank you. Thank you. Did someone do the motion?
I did.
Okay. Mr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Shamir?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes.
Ms. Gentry?
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mr. Koss.
Yes.
Thank you. You can go down to the
No,
printer
maybe-
now. Thank you. All right, sorry about that, folks.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, do you want to?
I was just going to ask Scott, I just wanted to clarify for everyone that this is based on a theoretical developer that comes in. This is not written in stone. It's to present, given a specific scenario, what could be possibly generated. So it's nothing for folks to lock in on, but it's providing some financial information.
It is. And there is a disclaimer that notes that on the form.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
All right, well, I'd like to close the public input section.
It was
I wanna
just
s-
about this
We
document.
can ask
Okay.
them during the motion portion of the evening. Okay. You have something for public comment? Come on up, Mr. Maloof.
Thank you very much. Just trying to answer as many of the questions that the public has raised as we can.
Oh, yeah.
With respect to a financial advisor, I think the finance director was I'm very glad she spoke in the sense that we're at the theoretical stage of this phase. Once there is an actual vertical developer with whom we're working and there's TIF analysis, I think at that point, if the assessment will be made and if there's a need for a financial advisor, that's the point at which the financial advisor comes. At this point, that's the point at which the financial advisor comes as opposed to this point. So we've never said that there's no financial advisor. It's just we're not going to have a financial advisor, review fiction. The second issue is the city under the purchase and sale agreement in section 6.01. It clearly provides that the city has the sole discretion if it's dissatisfied with the results of any environmental issues or for whatever reason, the city can pull out of the purchase and sale agreement, and that would be the end of the city's obligation to buy the property. And even if the city were to breach the purchase and sale agreement, the sole remedy for the seller under the purchase and sale agreement is $100. So that would be the sole remedy available there for any liability if the city were to pull out of the purchase and sale agreement. I just wanted to clarify those things quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shamir, you had
You know, there are comments that are being made relevant to what residents have asked by consultants. And if we go through the reports and then get to the motions, I think the relevance of the comments and the discussion will kind of go away.
I don't disagree with you on that.
No.
But they are part of the public right now, and they have the ability to come up and talk for 5 minutes like everybody else does, so that's how I'm looking at it, just, okay. Anyone else wanting to come forward? All right, I don't see any. I'm gonna close the public input section of the meeting. And I'll move on now to the reports, and we start with the mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Just a few events. Monday, the 25th, is our Memorial Day Parade, just a continual reminder. We also have a lot of 250th Jubilee events celebrating our country's 250th birthday. They're highlighted on our web page. You can also go to 250jubilee.com, 250jubilee.com, and there's fun events on there outlined for virtually every weekend, and there's something for everyone to enjoy there. I want to highlight one special event that's going to be occurring on Saturday, May 23rd at 1 o'clock. The Avon Lake Historical Society in the city will unveil Avon Lake Fire Department Truck Number 1, our original 1938 Dodge American LaFrance. It's the city's first fire truck. It's been lovingly and meticulously refurbished by some very talented and dedicated group of individuals associated with the Avon Lake Historical Society. We hope to have you come out for that one. We had a solemn Peace Officer Memorial Ceremony this morning at the Police Department. This week is National Peace Officer Memorial Week, with May 15th designated each year as National Peace Officer Memorial Day. I want to thank the Avon Lake Police Department for hosting this meaningful event and honoring and remembering those in law enforcement who died serving their communities. Some good news I want to share as well. The Government Finance Officers Association has awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting to Avon Lake for its annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ending 12/31/24. This is the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting. This is the 10th consecutive year Avon Lake has received this award. I could not be more proud of Finance Director Beth Crossy and her team for the quality, detail, and transparency of our financial information. So congratulations, job well done. Some updates. I want to thank all the voters who turned out to vote on the income tax levy. While we were disappointed in the results, but we continue to work to provide the best quality services that we can, and we'll continue to work with council to evaluate our next steps. Excuse me. In anticipation of tonight's discussion on the text amendment, which obviously we've had public comments on, I have a few things I'd like to share. I'm just going to read this if I can, Mr. Council President.
Go ahead.
Excuse me. I appreciate the time to provide an overview of how we got to this point in the process, address and offer the administration's perspective. I want to thank everyone who has called, emailed, or spoken publicly to myself, our council members, to express their thoughts. There are many good questions raised, and significantly, they will be important questions once a developer brings a project to the city. A few quick reminders. We do not own the 43 acres of the former power plant property that is under discussion and is currently zoned industrial and a small portion residential. The power plant was on that site when Char purchased it in April of 22, is now demolished. That is no small feat. What was once one of the largest plants in the United States at its time could still be standing on the site as a blighted coal-fired power plant containing thousands of tons of hazardous materials. I think we're all grateful that that plant is gone. The process that began under the previous administration of Mayor Zoka and Council President Marty O'Donnell continues today. There was a clear desire from the public to have increased public access to the lake. This was made particularly clear not only from council members and conversations with the public, but from a survey conducted in 2019 during the updating of the Avon Lake Comprehensive Plan, in which many comments reflected on the lack of access to the lake and amenities on the lakefront. It was also clear that an option to purchase private land for public park and lake access is a once-in-a-multi-generational opportunity to forever secure public land. It is widely realized that this land is maintained private and developed, this opportunity would be gone forever. As a result, talks were initiated to create mechanisms to have the property remediated and create a mixed-use development and 23 acres of lakefront park without using general fund money or creating debt to obtain the property. By the way, we do not have money to purchase the property, just as a reminder. To facilitate these discussions with Chara, a non-disclosure agreement, or NDA, was agreed to on June 25th, 2021, and modified August 28th, 2023. As requested by council, they were all provided with access to the complete material under the NDA on April 29th by Chara, adding to the environmental information that council has had access to for many months. In 2023, efforts began to create the Interim Developmental Agreement, or IDA. The purpose of the IDA was to clarify the intent of both the city and ALERT's responsibilities in advancing the redevelopment of the power plant property, which anticipates investment of over $400 million. This would be the most significant investment in the city's recent history. Outside counsel, consisting of Todd Davis, Jordan Burns, and Majid Makhlouf, all extremely distinguished in large commercial residential development, were retained to represent the city in these negotiations and protect the interests of the city through the process. The interim developmental agreement was approved by City Council in November of 2024 and covered environmental remediation and demolition, zoning, and tax increment financing for acquisition and development. But for the IDA, the city would not have access to the environmental assessment information that we do today. The IDA and subsequently the purchase agreement, or PSA, approved by City Council in November 2025, aligned with the Avon Lake Comprehensive Plan established in 2019. The power plant property is identified as one of the city's 3 focus areas, of which under the implementation strategy of the comprehensive plan, of which there are 6 goals. The redevelopment process we're talking about today directly aligns with 4 of those goals. Goal number 1, identify and establish new points of access to the lakefront through public green spaces where residents can interact with Lake Erie. Specifically, the power plant property is mentioned in that goal number 1. Goal number 2, a city that has signature development areas that serve as economic centers, central gathering spaces, and that unite the community while enhancing the community's image and brand. And I'll just note 2 of the action steps that are under this goal. Identify and create economic development incentives to advance development of the district and review and amend existing zoning districts, specifically setbacks to encourage more street-scale developments and sign standards. Goal number 4, look for opportunities to create or expand parks and open spaces which encourage community, social gatherings, and events. And goal number 5 from the comprehensive plan, promote a diverse mix of housing options while maintaining single-family residential character. The IDA also aligns with Strategy 4.2 of the Economic Recovery and Resiliency Plan, which states prioritize public lakefront access and mixed-use development land uses. Incorporated into this IDA and also the PSA was Exhibit C, which is the creation of Chapter 1219, which is what is before Council tonight for discussion. And it includes the modified version, which include changes that benefit the city. This legislation does not approve a mixed-use overlay district. It merely provides the structure and guardrails for a future development to apply for an overlay district, which has to go through the processes. When a development consistent with Chapter 1219 Lakeside Mixed-Use Overlay District is presented to the city, it must comply with our codes, including the necessary view sheds, having parking on private property to accommodate the population, require a traffic impact analysis, and the developer must pay for any required infrastructure improvements. If at any point during the city's due diligence they are not satisfied with the inspections, investigations of the property, or if there is no park, or if the TIF cannot be supported, then the city can exit all agreements. Consistent with the terms of the interim developmental agreement and purchase agreement, and the intent of the comprehensive plan, and the economic recovery and resiliency plan, and the Planning Commission's unanimous recommendation, The administration supports the Chapter 1219 LMUO and the PSA in its current form. Again, this was unanimously approved out of the Planning Commission after discussion, and some positive changes were made. There's been some discussion on returning this legislation to the Planning Commission. There is nothing in our planning and zoning code allowing this. In fact, the relevant code reads, council shall adopt with some modifications, or deny the recommendations of the Planning Commissions, which is again before you. The IDA was passed 6-1 by City Council, which included some current City Council members and included a proposed density of up to 1,250 units. This intent was further clarified by approving the PSA, which was attached to the IDA, and passed by City Council with, again, a vote of 6-1. Both the IDA and the PSA clearly contain provisions allowing City Council to debate and modify the LMUO zoning code chapter at City Council's sole discretion. This ability to modify is something the administration negotiated for and secured in the agreements. City Council has made suggestions for additional changes, and they've been incorporated in the revised document presented this afternoon. The administration does believe that a substantial modification of the density allowance from 1,200 units would negate the project. In fact, ALERC has indicated a modification of this nature, a substantial change, would kill the current deal due to the finances required to make the project viable for both the city and the developer. The proposed zoning protects the city's interests by controlling heights, view corridors, and setback requirements. Those exist to protect the city's interests independent of the number of units. This current legislation is a text amendment change. Any future impacts to the city will be debated in connection with a specific development plan. Under the LMUO zoning code chapter, any specific development plan must be evaluated by the Planning Commission for recommendation to the City Council and then approved by City Council. Until there's a development plan before the Planning Commission and City Council, any evaluation of the potential impacts to the city of a proposed development are purely speculative in nature. Allowing this legislation to move forward with the current density will enable the project to attract a vertical developer and continue the process for the city to reach its goal of acquiring a major public park, ensuring access to the lakefront for the benefit of Avon Lake's residents in perpetuity. Significantly modifying the legislation at this stage would unnecessarily jeopardize one of the most important projects in Avon Lake's history and represents a dramatic change from the development intent previously passed overwhelmingly twice by City Council. Therefore, the City Administration supports passing Chapter 1219 LMUO and rezoning to B3, consistent with City Council's previous intent and is approved by the Planning Commission. Because we are collecting additional information requested by Council, much of which has already been provided over the last 4 to 5 days, I support postponing third reading on these two ordinances until next Monday, May 18th, while we gather additional information and provide that to Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Does anyone have any questions for the mayor? I'm not seeing any. Next is Council President's report. I don't really have a report, but I would like to also congratulate Ms. Crossy on her accounting achievements.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything for the Council President? We're on to Mr. Ebert, the Law Director.
No report this evening, Mr. President.
Any questions? All right, on to the Finance Director, Ms. Crossy.
No report this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Crossy. We can handle the two legislations in the Finance Committee report. Any questions for Mrs. Crossy? All right, seeing none. Mr. Liskovic, I see you're back in your chair. Thank you for getting those copies for us. You're up on the reports.
Yes, sir. I have two items this evening. First, Columbia Gas has some active relocation work that's started today on Electric Boulevard right outside of City Hall. They anticipate wrapping that up on Wednesday, weather permitting. This is in preparation for the replacement of the electric bridge over Hyder Creek, which is scheduled to start construction late in June this summer. Next, we received communication from First Energy regarding the improvements to the west side that they've been working on for the past year and a half or so. Starting Wednesday, May 13th, they will have a planned outage for customers located south of Elmo Drive between Beechwood Avenue and Fairfield Road, extending from Electric Boulevard to Redwood Boulevard. These customers will be notified via door tags and IVR notifications, which is interactive voice response. And then the following week on Tuesday, May 19th, will be another planned outage for customers along Beechwood Avenue and Fairfield Road from Electric Boulevard to Redwood Boulevard. Same notification process, and this is all for stringing up new service lines and such related to all the improvements that they've been working on that west end of town.
Thank you, Mr. Liskovic. Any questions for Mr. Liskovic? All right, seeing none, I do want to go back to the council president report. I was going to ask our CCM next week. I suspect there'll be a couple items coming out of public service. Is there anyone that's going to be wanting to have a committee meeting at that CCM?
We had our meeting, and we don't have anything that came out.
Okay.
Is there something coming
No,
up?
I just know that you met last week. I'm just asking.
Right.
I'm
No.
trying to prepare for that CCM next week.
Thank you. So
That's all.
for the public, we'll get there. I'll tell you about my report, but
Yeah.
there's nothing.
I just have that statement of work for the coal yard.
Okay.
We needed to approve it. Kayla and I received the final copy, so we'll need to bring that on Monday.
All right. So I think it's going to be a very late CCM meeting, so I just wanted to just make sure that there wasn't anything coming up on that. All right. Thank you. We're on to the standing committees of council, beginning with Ms. Gentry, Buildings and Utilities.
Nothing to report.
Any comments or questions for her? Seeing none, we're on to Economic Development. Mr. Shamir.
Good evening. First of all, we have an Economic Development Committee meeting on May 18th at 6 p.m. here. And then we also have a CIC meeting on May 13th, again here in this dais. Now, as far as economic development goes, and as it pertains to the discussion of the mixed-use overlay, there has been a number of discussions. And as far as economics and economic development goes, the understanding of fiscal viability of a project by the developer and the property owner, and understanding that 1,200 units are required to achieve that, are fundamental to their requirements. So it says, without 1,200 units, we don't have a project. That means there's going to be 1,200 units potential. The potential is there for 1,200 units for that economics. Now, and that's okay. We can have that conceptually out there, and their numbers, again, it's conceptual. It is what they utilize to run their economics. Now, the city, in the same token, when it comes to project economics, needs to look at what it's going to take on income tax, what is it going to take, and property tax to make the TIF viable, also to make the infrastructure development and the infrastructure maintenance, the park maintenance, viable. That viability is something that the city is responsible for. That is our fiduciary responsibility on behalf of those that have elected us. Nobody here wants this development to stop, but clarity and transparency has been at the forefront of this discussion. So, we're talking about information that has been shared with council now for the past less than 2 weeks. We are being asked to do economic analysis, sensitivity analysis of those economics, even though it's conceptual. Conceptual allows you to look at the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. That is how project economics are done. It's not based on it's hypothetical and conceptual, so we don't touch it. That is a fallacy. Any business, any project that you deal with, they go through economic analysis, and they will look at the feasibility of a project. It's no different at the city, because if we don't understand the cost of a mile of road that has to be either expanded or built, or the sewer line or the water line that has to be expanded or taken from point A to point B, and who the responsible parties are for those costs, then we are flying blind. The issue is not wanting to hold this up. The issue is having the clarity as far as the city goes so that we can make logical and fiscal decisions based on data, even though it may be hypothetical. You know, I may be looked at as the purveyor of the naysay. I was the only no vote when this passed. The reason being, fundamentally, that as an economic development initiative, it should be weighed based on its economics. There should be no clause in the agreement that says the city administration has to push this and lobby for this on behalf of the developer. And that is what's in the IDA. It specifically says that city administration will, on behalf of ALERG, lobby the Planning Commission, who the mayor sits on and votes on, and the council to get this project approved. That is not what economics of a project should rely on. There should be no, absolutely none swaying of any vote or lobbying when it comes to a project like this. It should be evaluated based on economics. Economics is black and white. It's numbers. It's a series of ones and zeros that will impact us from now on to eternity if it's done wrong. I am all for development. I am all for profit. But profit as long as the city does not end up holding the bag. You know, ALERG Chara, saw something in this asset. And I can tell you what they saw as far as I'm concerned. That is the jewel of Lake Erie. That property has so much potential upside, but it still needs to be evaluated as far as the city goes. They've looked at it. They've had these numbers. They've gone through it forward and backwards. As far as the city goes, we need to do the same thing. Not in 7 days, not in 2 weeks. This has to be a thorough assessment. And when I found out that this information has been with the city for as long as it had been, I mean, you either have the viability of a project, even conceptual project, because if you have the conceptual data as far as economics goes, that shows that this project is profitable both for the developer and fiscally viable for the city, then guess what? I would be out there advertising the numbers, not holding the numbers back. Transparency is, I think, what all the residents in the community have asked for. And it is our fiduciary responsibility to ensure that this is the best deal possible for the city with no potential downside. We know what the upside for the developer is, and we know what their limits are. So when it comes to economics and economic development, it doesn't mean that because they came in, they took the power plant, they took it down, and they cleared what was seen as an eyesore, that now we have to ensure that we take whatever is put in front of us and move it forward. And the same thing goes in the IDA, not only for the Planning Commission, not only for City Council, it goes for the schools as well. So the primary lobbying effort for this project comes from the administration. As per the IDA, I would refer you to go and read the IDA. And that is problematic the administration should be, if nothing, neutral, or should be looking at it with a fine-tooth comb. So when the administration comes in, takes the role of lobbying, personally, I would then see all the consultants that are brought in to support them have the same responsibility as far as they are contractually bound by. They are here to support the initiative of the administration. And at this point in time, as per the IDA, the administration's initiative is to lobby for this project to move forward. Thank you. That's all my EPA economic development.
Okay. Are you anticipating anything going from the Economic Development Committee next Monday to the CCM?
There's going to be a discussion, yes, that will be brought forth from the motion.
To move it to the CCM?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. President, may I ask a point of order question?
Yes.
When would you prefer that we get into all of this? Because there's a number of opportunities throughout this, and anticipating that the two motions may pass, the third readings I don't think are discussed at that point. So when would you prefer to get into the discussion of this? 'Cause I know we all have something to say. So I'll follow your lead, sir.
I anticipated it being done during the motion to postpone, but I see that we've already covered it on a few.
I just don't want to
Shamir's covered.
repeat myself over and over and over.
Yeah.
And nobody
So
wants
I
to
would
hear
say that at that time when we do the motion.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I'll ask for discussion. Thank you. Anything else for Mr. Shamir in the Economic Development Committee meeting? All right. On to environmental, Mrs. Goodwin.
The only thing I wanted to remind everyone is there is a shred day this Saturday. It is, I'm sorry, I'm pulling it up again. It is free for all residents. It is from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Or I'm sorry, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. At the pool. And there will be 2 shred trucks to securely dispose of sensitive documents. There will also be a small electronics recycling bin for people to take their items to. There is on the city's Facebook page and website, there are further details about that. So if anyone's interested in participating in that this weekend, it's on Saturday.
Thank you. Anything else? Anyone have any questions for the chair of the Environmental Committee? All right, seeing none, we're on to the Finance Committee meeting. Finance Committee met prior to the CCM last Monday. We had several items on the agenda, and including the RETA income tax report, the monthly fund report, and budget adjustments, which are on the agenda for tonight in terms of the tax budget is on the agenda, or resolution number 26-42 was discussed, and ordinance number 26-41, which is amending the appropriations for the fiscal year. We also had an update on the health insurance, where we're trying to see if we can get the city to be self-insured, which I think will save the city a lot of money, nearly $400,000. Ms. Crossy, if I would turn it over to you for, we are having ordinance 26-41, which is as an emergency, and that'll be on 2 readings, I think, and then the other resolution will be as an emergency, but that's going to be 3 readings for the tax budget. Anything further from your side that you want to discuss on that?
No, but would I discuss this during the reading when it's
Yeah, you
ready?
can discuss
That'll
it
be fine.
again. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you. Anything for the finance report? All right, seeing nothing. We're on to human resources. Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I have no report for human resources. I did want to ask, though, I was hoping to do the committee meeting before the next CCM, but are you anticipating no?
You're at the 18th?
Yeah,
Yeah, we could certainly do that.
okay.
All
They're
right.
generally pretty brief, so.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
So we'll have that on. All right. Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you. Mr. Reynolds, is there any kind of an update on the city engineer applications, interview process?
Mr. Mayor, you want to jump in on that?
Yes, we have made an offer to a candidate, and we're waiting to hear back.
Oh, that sounds good, promising, thank you.
All right. Anything further, Mr. Reynolds?
No, sir.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Reynolds? All right. Seeing none. Public safety, Mr. Kaz.
Thank you. I have no formal report, but the next scheduled meeting of the Public Safety and Health Committee would be scheduled for Wednesday, May the 20th at 6 p.m. in council chambers. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Seeing none, we're on to public service. Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you. We have one item on tonight's agenda. It's a second read, and we're going to go through readings. This is about the resolution number 26-39, and it talks about the capital improvement community park recreation conservation project pass-through grant from ODNR. It's for the work that was done on the gazebo at Veterans Memorial Park and also the walkway there. And it's simply a pass-through. $50,000 was awarded, $1,000 is kept by the state to cover their administrative fees, and then $49,000 is reimbursed to the city. And when I get there, you're going to say, okay, 3 readings, and why are you declaring an emergency? Because of the date that the state needs for us to report our work by. It needs to go through versus waiting 30 days after the vote. But it's going to go 3 readings. And our next meeting is going to be June the 3rd at 5:30 p.m. in these chambers, and you're all invited to join us.
Thank you. Any questions for the Chair of Public Service? Seeing none. On to Planning Commission. Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I have no report from Planning Commission. We did not have a meeting this month due to a lack of an agenda, but the next Planning Commission meeting will be on June 2nd.
Thank you. Any questions? The one thing that I have for Planning Commission is when it comes to the other developments within the city that regarding the traffic impact analysis, I think we ought to be looking at expanding it from a half mile from the development that's going in to make sure that we don't have various issues. And if you could maybe bring that up to them and see what Planning Commission has to say about that.
It's a great idea.
Thank you. Yes?
Yes,
Mrs.
I'd like to
Fenderbosh.
comment on that. I know that there's different types of TIFs, and the state of Ohio, I believe, has, our consultants can probably confirm this, has, I believe, the half mile in their boilerplate, not for the one that we're doing at the power plant, but the one that's like 83 in Walker. So, Mr. Reynolds, you might want to work with the consultant that we have been working with, because I think all of us would like to have the impact study be a citywide impact study, right? But I think we have to word it so that it doesn't limit us in the type of TIF that we could be selecting to help with that infrastructure down the road. What? He's talking, oh, I said TIF, I'm sorry.
You meant
TIA.
yeah.
Traffic impact study,
Yeah,
thank you.
I just think with a lot of the comments, particularly we heard here, and that we heard on other developments that came in, that we may want to be having a little broader look when
But-
these developments go in.
Yeah, but sir, I was talking about the TIF because when there's an impact study made, if there has to be work done and if it's beyond what the developer can do, at that point, if the city has a TIF and the schools can be carved out so that they're not, they're excluded, they can keep getting their tax funds, like we did at 83 in Walker, I believe there's boilerplate language that the state provides, so I don't want to be in conflict with that, is all I'm saying. to pay for the work.
All right, thank you. Anything further for Planning Commission? All right, seeing nothing, we're on to Zoning Board. Mayor Spetzel.
No meeting, next meeting will be May 27th.
Thank you. Any questions for Zoning Board? Next is Parks and Recreation Commission, Mrs. Goodwin.
Thank you. We do have a meeting on Wednesday, May 27th, at 5:30 p.m. in the first floor conference room of this building. And I do believe I'm waiting for confirmation back from the rec director and Heather that the two items on the agenda might be the Sunset Park volleyball courts and the summary, the survey that we discussed last Monday in here. But I think it might be a little bit more of a deeper dive into that. So if those results interest anyone, that would be a good venue to come and listen and participate. And that's all I have. Thank you.
What time is that meeting? I know
5:30.
I'm planning on going to that.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mrs. Goodwin? All right, seeing none, we're on to special committees. Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you very much. The next tree commission meeting is Wednesday of this week. It is the 3rd at 5:30 p.m. at the old firehouse. And I want to present on camera, because I'm going to be going out of town, I won't be able to be at that meeting, something I just received today from the Ohio Senate. And this is the first time this has happened. The General Assembly of the State of Ohio, Ohio Senate, honoring the Avon Lake Tree Commission on its new program. And this is from Senator Robert McCauley. He's the president of the Ohio Senate, and Senator Nathan Manning, 13th Senatorial District. It says, on behalf of the members of the Senate of the 136th General Assembly of Ohio, we're pleased to pay tribute to the Avon Lake Tree Commission as it celebrates the launch of its Plant a Tree, Grow a Legacy program. This is an important occasion and provides an ideal time to acknowledge excellent work done by the Avon Lake Tree Commission. Since its establishment, this fine organization has engaged in an array of worthwhile activities and initiatives that have benefited the area, including its new Plant a Tree, Grow a Legacy program, which invites residents to honor people, moments, and milestones through the planting of trees and to write a dedication note in a commemorative book at the local library. This agency's impressive contributions to the community readily explain why it is so widely held in high esteem. All those associated with the Avon Lake Tree Commission are to be commended for their foresight, dedication, selfless donations of time, energy, and ability, far beyond what is required or expected. Indeed, these fine people have earned the genuine respect and admiration of many, have set an example of concerned and responsible citizenship that is worthy of emulation. Thus, with great pleasure, we congratulate the Avon Lake Tree Commission on its new program and extend best wishes for its success. Mr. Liskovic won't be at the meeting either, so I'm going to pass this down to Mrs. Rossmarin to place with the records of the Tree Commission.
Thank you very much. Good work, Tree Commission.
Thank you. And then I have one other one.
Yes, go ahead.
So I represent Avon Lake on Keep Lorraine County Beautiful, and their Beautiful Week is next week, and it is on Saturday, May 16th. And you can volunteer with any organization, from Cub Scouts to churches. Many groups are helping their neighbors. The important thing is to contact Mr. Liskovic or Selena, his administrative assistant at the Public Works Department, and to let them know what you've done, how many bags of mulch you've spread for your next door neighbor next door who wasn't able to do it, or you've planted a tree, or you've planted flowers, or you can help with any of the gardens here. There's 11 gardens that the Garden Club manages. So I just wanted to present that to you, because through this program, the county is able to seed money that can help grow businesses and actually come back to Avon Lake. So I just wanted to let you know that that is on the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Fenderbosh. Any questions for her? All right, seeing none, we're on to the, any other special committee committee reports? CIC is in the midst of some interviews, and they'll be continued. We have a couple more to do. All right. We're on the motions. Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you. I move to postpone the third reading of ordinance number 26-36 to May 18th, 2026 due to recent revisions.
All right. Discussion. Mr. Reynolds.
As I stated in the motion, this is due to revisions that were spoken about earlier. I think it is important to give not just us, but the general public some time, a week, to digest these changes and also express their opinions on them. Again, just for a reminder, 26-36 is the mixed-use overlay. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. Ms. Gentry. Yep. Yes, now's the time.
Okay, so I just want to say, just as ALERC has needed to know how many units were required in order to make your project financially viable, the city also needs to do the due diligence to understand what the cost will be or the implications of that on their side, so that when we take a look at whether or not this 1219 is viable for the city knows whether or not they can support the additional services. I appreciate the extra time to review and wanted to also state that, yes, while we have passed through these very similar 1219 through the IDA and the PSA, the big difference for me anyway is that the realization that we needed to go to the residents for fixing our roads. We have a $48 million, I believe, backlog in roads that need to be resolved. The income tax did not pass, and that is unfortunate, but that does have a significant impact in the way I look at this particular project and any in the future.
Thank you. Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you. I just want everybody to be really clear. The income tax that did not pass is not for this project. It's for existing roads and streets. I know there's a lot of confusion. I was talking to a lot of people. I see heads shaking. Excuse me, I have the floor, please. I see there's people even here that disagree with me. But the income tax was only for the existing streets. It was not for the power plant project. And if I could have either Mr. Mayor or Mrs. Crosby develop that a little bit further, I have one other comment. Thank you.
Go ahead. Oh.
Not quite sure. You want me to respond to?
If you could respond to, the income tax was not for the power plant.
That's correct. So we have a very specific plan that was put in place, a roads and infrastructure plan that was put in place that would utilize the funds that would have been derived from that income tax increase. It truly had nothing to do with the power plant. In fact, if the power plant is developed, we anticipate those will probably be private roads, would not be affected there. We have a lot of road work we need to do. Obviously, we're going to be talking with council about how to move forward on that. The power plant doesn't enter into that discussion at all. We have 112 centerline miles of roadways right now. Don't think the power plant would add to that. It's just dealing with the roads we currently have.
Right. So this is in, if I could finish, this is in my committee, and during my committee presentations, Mr. Liskovic and Ms. Crosby gave us the spreadsheet of the streets that would be considered to be the high priority, and that's available for anyone. If anybody wants a copy of that, our council clerk has all those copies, and I won't be able to respond because I'll be out of town this week. But she has that spreadsheet so that you can see that nothing was going toward the power plant. So I just want to make certain that there was clarity with that. Okay?
Can I clarify?
Yeah, go ahead,
I
Ms.
did
Ms.
not mean
Gentry.
to imply that the income tax had anything to do with the power plant. What I wanted to imply was that we needed to be sure that the city can cover the additional expenses of the new power plant, the 1219, so that we don't have to come back to the residents for additional funding because we can't support services. That was all.
Right.
Okay.
And then my second point, so.
Mrs. Fenderbosh,
Thank
go
you
ahead.
Thank you very much. My second point. So a lot of questions are out there that the community has, and they're looking to council to answer them. Some of these we can't speak to right now, but we have received information for. One of the steps that's going to be coming forward, and we're not at the end, this B3, transferring it from an industrial zone to a B3, and then with an overlay that is going to be discussed tonight, and is also going to be discussed and brought to a vote next week, is the beginning. It's not the end. We haven't even talked about what's called a subdivider agreement. And that's within our code. That isn't a secret with them or with us. That is in the planning and zoning code. It's very short. If you want to read it and be your little novel for the weekend, please read it, because then you'll understand perhaps better the process that we're going through. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fenderbosh. Mr. Cobb.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Council President. So I've got a few things that I wanted to talk about. The first part is, it was mentioned earlier tonight by Mr. Shamir, the language about the city's administration supporting the zoning changes, and I'll read the quote directly from the document. Pursuant to the IDA, simultaneous with and as a condition of the adoption of the overlay district, the city's administration shall initiate and support before the City Planning Commission and the City Council the rezoning of the property to the zoning designation of B3 Special Commerce District, and then therefore talks about the two ordinances that are likely to be postponed. The key to that, and what seems to be being discussed and concerned with, is the city's administration shall initiate and support before the City Planning Commission and the City Council. As was noted, that passed 6-1, that language. I believe it was back in November of 24, I think it was. This term, city's administration, is a pretty broad term. That includes the economic development director, that includes the law director, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that also involves our hired counsel, our experts on these, representing the city on this. So that agreement from the city administration to support what has come forward isn't just blind support with whatever ALERG made up one day and said, here, go support it. There was an ongoing dialogue and communication between the attorneys, between our experts, between the economic development director, between the mayor's office, in working to craft the document that sits before us tonight. So I understand that there could be a reading of this that says that the mayor is compromised somehow. The mayor was working with his attorneys that represent the city to craft a document that could be agreed upon by council, that was mutually acceptable by both parties, ALERG and the city of Avon Lake, and bringing that forward. It would make no sense at all if the mayor opposed and the administration opposed it all the way through. So that was the role that the city administration takes in that, and I hope that folks understand that. There's nothing nefarious in that. There's nothing secretive in that. There's nothing conflicting in that. That is the mayor's administration, to include our attorneys who are sitting up here and sitting out there, who have done a darn good job of representing us, working with ALERG to bring this together for us to make our votes on and make our amendments and changes, whether it goes up or whether it goes down. It was negotiated. It's before us for a vote. That's the first thing I wanted to mention. The other thing is, there's been so many comments, and I didn't want to say it when everyone was talking during the correspondence, and we all received, I think, about the same amount of emails. I think I counted 21 or 22, and I apologize. I did not get back to everybody. I got back to a little bit over half of that, and I will try to respond to everybody else as well, too, the best that I can going forward. But a lot of the comments that have been made, I really agree with. I agree with a lot of the comments that were made here today. We heard folks talk about this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And it truly is. It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a municipality to obtain 23 acres of lakefront public property that will not be developed commercially. It will not be developed privately. Other sections of it will, but not 23 acres. More than half of this massive site would be the city of Avon Lakes if we approve this. And I can't lose sight on that. And the mayor mentioned in the, stole some of my thunder talking about the comprehensive plan from 2019, in which this agreement that is before us covers, 4 out of the 6 recommendations and some of the sub-recommendations as well, too. So we always get criticized for not putting these plans out there, not following them, and rightfully so in some cases. But here's an instance that we actually have a plan that we commissioned, and we're following that plan. So I think that is very important that the number one thing that we're looking to do, at least what I'm looking to do, is to preserve 23 acres for the public. And if we can connect that 23 acres to the existing, I think it's 15 acres at Miller Road Park, you've got, in my opinion, I don't know if there's a bigger one, but it might be the biggest lakefront park, public property in northern Ohio on the lakefront, the north side of it. So I think it's a tremendous opportunity. We heard from Mr. Jim Zimnick last week. Mr. Zimnick came in, and I thought he was excellent. Wish we could have gotten to him a little sooner, but that's okay. I encourage people to go back and watch his presentation. I thought he was excellent. And you could see the excitement in him when he talked about the possibility of partnering with the city of Avon Lake to do this project. He's in. There's no written agreement or anything like that right now, but he is excited for this opportunity. And we have examples right here in Lorain County of how Lorain County Metro Parks works with municipalities to operate and maintain their parkland. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel on a lot of this. And I think that a lot of this will come out in the park plan. And that would be the next step, or one of the next steps in this process. We heard a lot of good folks coming forward talking about, well, there's not even a parking lot on this park on the map. Of course there will be a parking lot. Those are the things that are discussed in the development of the park plan. The park plan has not been put together yet because there is no plan approved formally. I mean, so we would need to we would need to hire a professional park planner working with members of City Council and also the administration and the Lorain County Metro Parks to put that together. So when we talk about the amenities that people would love to see in a lakefront park, they hear them say, we'd like to see a boardwalk, we want to see a pavilion, an amphitheater, some sort of facility where you can have wedding receptions and showers and things like that. All of those are terrific ideas, but those are things that come out in the park plan, and we're not there yet. And when we talk about what is it going to cost to make this park, to develop this park, the park plan process will play a big part in that. We are not going to put a park plan out there for approval from council that we can't afford. We're not going to put it out there. We're not going to have a million grand ideas. Can I continue? Thank you. Thank you. You've been talking the entire time. I'm sorry. My apologies. So the park plan process would be one that all these things that we're talking about, we would be able to put into that what we can reasonably pay for, what we can reasonably operate, and partnering with the Lorain County Metro Parks. So, those are exciting things. And I think that if we can get to that step where we're developing that, people can start to see how this plan is coming together, see how that is going to happen. It was also mentioned that in 1218, there would have to be 50% that would remain green space or parking lots. Well, that's exciting. Parking lots would be almost 50%. And green space. Mind you, that green space would be private green space. The only option before City Council is, are we going to acquire, think of it this way, are we going to acquire public parkland, again, for the public, or are we going to roll with 1218, which guarantees the city no public access? It is all private. Now, is 1219 perfect? Probably not. I struggle with 1,200 units. I struggle with that. I have relayed that on to my colleagues. I've relayed that on to my attorneys, or to the attorneys, and I've also relayed that on to ALERG, that I really, really struggle with that number. But I do recognize that the opportunity that is before us with 1,200 units, but also the opportunity to have 23 acres of public park space on the lake. They're not making any more lakefront park space available to the public and municipalities. So I'm excited at the opportunity that if we can move through this, we can begin to put pen to paper and start putting these big, bold, beautiful ideas that people envision together. I'm also excited that unlike in 1218, we have in 1219, there are specific businesses that we can and we can't put there. 1218 does not have that. So when we went through this process of drafting this, we listed the different types of businesses that we would want to see there. What do the people of Avon Lake, what are the businesses that they would want to see go in there? And we itemized them, all kinds of neat ideas, distilleries, wineries, boutique shops, salons under personal services, all these different categories and things that would be fitting. And we also said that we do not want to see other types of businesses in there, and that is tattoo parlors and cannabis shops and boat storage and a bunch of other things in there as well too. They're listed in the document. I'm not going to read them off, but people can go in there and look at them. So if we fell back to 2018, we don't have those protections in there about what do we really envision on a lakefront mixed-use development. And we would lose that opportunity for the public to have access to it. It would be all privately owned. We would lose access on the types of businesses. We'd have little to no control of the businesses that we don't want in there. So these are the things that we have to weigh as council people, and it hasn't been easy. And I think a lot of the things that people say, and they come up here, they're coming from a really good place, and these are really good questions. And unfortunately, our rules are set up where we can't jump up and answer the question on the spot when someone brings it up. And I think we all would love to do that, but that's not the way that our rules are set up. So it's not that we're ignoring some of these questions, but it's at certain types of the meetings that we have to do this. So I hope that we can postpone this tonight. I look forward to the third and final reading next week. I'm appreciative that changes were made. I am appreciative of the audience member, Mr. Phillips, that brought some of the changes to us. I think they were good, sensible changes. And I look forward to supporting that next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cos. Mrs. Goodwin.
Thank you. I have, like Mr. Cos mentioned, this has been a really challenging couple of weeks, and I think one of the moments of clarity that I've had recently was that it is not ALERG's job to make the plan for how the city could potentially come up for these funds in however many years from now. And I think the reason that a lot of these lines were crossed, especially with the income tax last week, which I'm looking forward to having more discussions on, is that people aren't getting enough good information. So people are making their own. I'm a communications marketing professional, and my favorite thing in the world is to tell people too much information. Don't worry, I'm not going to do that here. But I want it to be known that this is a really challenging position to be in because this is a life-changing project. I do not fault anyone behind this desk for not knowing what we're doing because this is a once-in-a-lifetime project. As Mr. Zimnick said, it's a once-in-a-300-year project. And to that point, I do think it's a very vital step forward that Lorain County Metro Parks makes a clear distinction at where they come in during this process. I think a timeline of where their involvement lies is going to be a huge part of this, not so much for the clarity of city council and the administration, but for residents. Because the waters are really muddy right now, and I think we all could deal with some facts. So I wanted to state that part first. And then also the park plan topic has come up a number of times tonight. And I just wanted to bring up that the park plan topic was brought up at the beginning of this year and has since fallen flat. I have not heard anything about it since January. It kind of died at my February environmental committee meeting. So I hope that we can work to resurrect that again. I would love to. I think that's I think a lot of the pieces and parts of this process should be happening simultaneously. And I think they should be happening in lockstep with ALERG and our consultants. Because right now it feels a little bit like there's 4 silos and no one's really holding hands. And I feel very strongly that moving forward with this and putting out better communication to the entire community and being able to have these conversations and highlighting the points that it is not Burns-Ochner's job, it is not Todd Davis's job, and it is not ALERG's job to determine the financial wherewithal for the city. Just point blank. That is not what they're here to do. They all have their own roles in this project and in this process, and I think those need to be established a lot more clearly because I think it's perfectly okay that ALERG walks away with a lot of money because they spent a lot of money to take that thing down. And that is not lost on me. That is not lost on my family. That is not lost on a lot of the residents here in Avon Lake, as we heard tonight. And I think that this conversation in terms of planning and infrastructure, these things don't end with 1219. I think that, again, all of these things need to be true and they need to be happening all together. Everyone needs to be walking the yellow brick road together. So I support the postponement, but I feel strongly that continuing to reference the 2019 plan, I wish we could do a little bit better job, do some more due diligence as the city of Avon Lake, both council and the administration, to use that plan and maybe have another path forward because that's old. By the time a shovel gets in the ground over there, that could be a decade old. And I want this to be the best thing ever, and I don't think that that entirely encompasses the vision of what that place needs to be, not in a term to hold this up, but to, again, be working alongside this project and this process. And there was one last point I wanted to make, and it's escaped me. That's all I'm going to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you. Out of fear of, or trying to not make this meeting go till 12:30 at night, I won't repeat a lot of what's been said. I do agree with a lot of what has been said. I do want to echo the sentiments of Mr. Koss. I completely agree that this is important, and this has been litigated in the past, and it's before us now. But I also want to echo the sentiments of Mrs. Goodwin on the importance of transparency. I think that we can and probably should, moving forward, do a better job at getting information out to the public. And that's just the things that is appropriate for them to know. Because it is important that they have the maximum amount of information possible to form their opinions and have an accurate assessment of what's going on. And just in discussion, I've had a lot of really great discussions with people, and I think something that always comes up is, we don't know. We don't know enough, and then they assume that maybe we don't have the information. I'm not saying that everything that we have needs to be put out, but we can definitely do a better job, I think, moving forward in informing the public. One last point. I think the biggest difference, in my opinion, and say Mr. Shamir, I think we're very close in terms of how we view this project. And if my assumptions are correct based on previous discussions, we both want 1219 to pass at some point. The issue isn't if it's going to pass, it's when. He validly brings up the need for a plan, and we have seen some information recently, financially, that I think is useful, but it's all theoretical. The real plan and the most valuable information that we will get will be after we can see an actual plan brought forth by a developer. That is when we can actually judge and see how this will impact the city. Otherwise, it's all theoretical. Is it a useful exercise now? Yes. But will we truly know the impact that it will have on the city now? No. Like I said, I don't want to say it's imaginative, but it is theoretical. I'm not saying it doesn't have value, but the true value will come when we can actually judge an actual plan, and it will go through all the levels of scrutiny, through the departments of the city, through planning, and through city council. That is when we will have actual, tangible information on how this will affect the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Mr. Shamir.
If I may, I don't disagree with my colleague, all of them. We want 1219 to pass. Now, having theoretical is the basis of how we define many of things, but I want to bring some reality to the picture. We are talking about increasing the population of this city by 10%, roughly, on 0.6% of the city's area. 10% on 0.6%. So that is 2,400 potential new residents and vehicles on 43 acres. The city of Avon Lake is roughly 11.13 miles squared. That is 7,132 acres. So we're talking about a 0.6% increase. The impact of infrastructure is not citywide. It will emanate from a point. That is a fiscal impact on the city, no matter how you look at it. So to evaluate that fiscal impact is critical, because it's not, okay, we will deal with it later. The cost of that is going to be exorbitant. And they may say that it's theoretical. Great, a lot of it may be theoretical. But what we are approving is a potential 1,200 units on 43 acres. And let that sit in Now, from there, if I may share my screen. Excuse me. Let me try this again. I am logged in. Can I get, yes. Thank you.
She is. Oh, yeah, she is.
So we're in, one second, so go to Zoom. Share. And then what do you want? Which thing is it?
It is the PowerPoint. Where's the PowerPoint?
The delay right now is we're trying to get Mr. Shamir to be able to share his screen up on the screen here. So it might be another minute or so, folks.
Let's go back to. We want the presentation, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then. Should we wait?
That's why I couldn't.
Because the only way to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie.
So, if I may, there was a discussion that was had earlier by my colleague, Mr. Koss, that city administration could mean a lot of things. But this is the IDA agreement, the interim development agreement, which specifically defines city administration or city's administration shall mean the mayor of the city and the executive departments under the mayor. So effectively, the chief executive of the city of Avon Lake is Mayor Spetzel. That is what that means. It means that the mayor is the one that is responsible for advocating this initiative. So I just want to make sure that that is clear. And when you go down here, it says simultaneously, so zoning 3A, simultaneously with and as a condition of the adoption, excuse me, I've got to move, of the overlay district, the city's administration shall, okay? Shall is a mandatory, it's not discretionary. So that's what it says. Initiate and support before City Planning Commission and City Council the rezoning of the property to the zoning designation of B3 Special Commerce District. The same thing applies to the 1219. So
I think Mr. Burns just logged in and might have his mic.
No, he's,
Oh,
that was Amy, just Amy.
oh,
Burns has been there.
my mistake, sorry.
So the discussion of 1219 and 1218 has been had is what is the upside and what is the city's share of that upside. Under 1218, there's 387 units. It doesn't make a difference right now what the price may be, $500,000 or $1. The upside of this mixed overlay is giving the availability of 1,200 units. That's over a 3-time increase. Now, there was a discussion that we have selected under 1219 specific things that can go in there. Well, here's 1218 possibilities as per the chapter itself. Apartments, condominiums, townhomes, upper floor residential units, retail shops, restaurants and cafes, personal services, offices. So when you look at it, there are capacities. So if we're talking about half of that land being developed, if you're going to develop apartments, retail, there's going to be traffic. You want to pull in foot traffic. You want to bring vehicle traffic. It's not secluded. It's not private property that you're talking about. So anyway, 1218 is an option, whether we look at it or not. But 1218 has the potential of not requiring that much infrastructure expansion. What we're asking, well, is very fundamental question. What is the infrastructure requirement for this 1219 project? And if you go back, we talk about the economic resiliency plan. It specifically stipulates that you need to look at the infrastructure plan for these developments. It's page 175. So, it's how you look at it or how you try to present it. There is an upside, and great, if they can get that upside, that is fantastic. But we as a city should not, at some point in time, wake up and say, oh, heck, what happened? We did not get it. We forgot to ask. The administration should not be the entity that is pushing this forth. They should look at the data and they should evaluate it based on what the economics of this project shows for the city. That should be their primary objective, not getting it passed at Planning Commission, City Council, or then taking it down to the school district to get the TIF approved. That should be a secondary issue. We should be looking at the economics. We should be looking at what it is that this project means for the city of Avon Lake. Now, there was a discussion on environmental issues. Now, I've had a number of discussions on environmental. I feel like that the environmental issue will move forward, but there needs to be clarity. Clarity is the environmental remediation on this side, as per ALERG, as discussed with Mr. Gross of Verdantis, is to industrial standards. It is not for us to be roaming around and rolling in the grass. It is not that level of remedial action. That level of remedial action will have to come from the TIF, as previously mentioned by the consulting team. So again, it is not about the narrative that we want to hear and we want to hear at this point so we can move this forth. It's about an understanding of what the obligations are and to understand what it is that we have to do and what is it going to be paid either from us or from them to get this project going. Now, we talk about beach access and parks. We have Miller Road Park with a beach that has been pretty much closed for 15 years. Why has it been closed? No money. So how is it that we can then fund the beach today on this new piece of property potentially, and yet not be able to deal with an existing beach that we have? Fiscal responsibility is not a magic show. It is clarity in the numbers. If we can't do it then, we can't do it now. This is going to be even more difficult. So I understand. Asking the hard questions now is not being a naysayer. Asking the hard question is because we're worried that tomorrow, somewhere down the road, I'm going to have to answer to the constituents or to those people that see me in the grocery store. What in the world were you thinking when you approved this? My lack of clarity was here in November of 24 when I voted no against the IDA. That lack of clarity is still there. It's not the responsibility of ALERG to bring that clarity about. It is the responsibility of the administration to do so. They have supplied information. The administration has not taken action with that information. I want to be proven wrong. And today, as for the past 2 years, I will say, if you have information that shows that this is a viable project, bring it forth and I will follow you and support you through the process. That's all it will take. Now, it is a wonderful piece of land, 43 acres, that could change the future of Avon Lake for the positive or the negative, depending on how it's managed. That is my comments, and I am more than welcome to anyone to take questions, but I have not changed my mind based on what I've seen to date. Thank you.
Ms. Gentry.
Just an explanation of the costs that I was looking for, and this is not to, again, this is about, sorry, I'm trying to multitask and I don't do that well. So the numbers that I'm going to show are estimates. I got them off of Copilot. I haven't updated these slides. I've been working with Ms. Crossy to come up with better numbers, and so don't look at the overall. This is where you start, right? You have to have a baseline to understand where you're going from. So what the 1,200 units in the ordinance provide or indicate is that between public services like fire, police, public works to support the 1,200 units. The estimate came back at 1,200 for each resident. It would be $1,200 annually that would be required. So if you take the 1,200 units and estimate 1.8 people per unit, then you multiply by the 1,200, you get 2,592,000. That's a shocking number. Agreed. So let's say it's half of that. Let's say that we spend half of that. It's still fundamentally more than, and thank you, ALERG, for providing us with your document, because I wasn't sure how to show this without this. But there's the annual payroll generated. There's $232,000 in annual taxes that are coming to the city from the commercial retail that they've suggested. And again, all theoretical, agreed, 100%, I agree. But we're off by a significant factor. And so what I'm looking for is to have Mrs. Crossy provide better information so that we can get closer to identify what the real true gap would be. What does the city need the commercial and retail income tax to provide the city so that we can support 1,200 units? That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the cost of this project. Because without this, I don't understand how we can possibly agree to this, because I feel if those numbers are truly accurate, and again, prove me wrong, please, because that I don't like those numbers, but if they are accurate, what that says is that this project is just not feasible. The city can't support that project.
Thank
So
you.
I don't need to share the rest of them because I've already stated the rest of that.
It's up to you.
No, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Mrs. Crossy.
Thank you for sharing that, Mrs. Gentry. But could you bring that screen back up?
Sure,
I'm
sorry. I know we said that you think that the police and fire would just be 3 additional. I'm still working on sharing this, hang on.
Is that her?
Well, that $2.6 million based on the 2,400 folks, I think it was, or 1,200 units.
Yeah.
So the discussion that you and I had was a great deal of that cost is already in place with current personnel. That is not incremental cost of adding 1,200 folks. That number comes out to a per head cost currently within the budget is what we had discussed. But when you add that number of residents, we already have a structure in place for a lot of those services. So it would be only an incremental cost based on those additional folks.
So I think what you had mentioned was 3 or 4. I can't remember. Additional fire, police. And so even that alone is higher than the suggested 231. So I do think that there's value in figuring out what the city would need as far as income tax in order to support
absolutely
the additional cost.
Yes,
So that I just wanted to say we can do some estimates without final numbers in theory.
Yes. So some information that I did share with council based on 2,400 estimated additional residents was income tax, and this was in conjunction with an income tax based on employment possibilities within that region. And again, that was based on theoretical information, that piece of it, as is the 2,400 additional residents. But I came up with a range averaging about $2 million in additional income tax annually. So that $2.7 million that you have up on the screen is extremely high. Even if we were needing to add, say, 4 additional police and fire in total, at an average cost of about $150,000 in personnel costs per person. That's about $600,000. Okay, so subtracted from the $2 million estimated income tax, that's about $1.4 million. Now, the other thing that we do want to take a look at is just not counting the number of officers, but the number of the call volume based on that. That's going to take a little bit of analysis this week, and hopefully we can get to that so that we can firm up some of that projection. And the other piece of the cost would be if the roads in that development are not private, if they're public, what that incremental cost would be. Again, not what it currently is, because we already have employees in place who can take care of that, but there might be a need for an incremental, addition of another public service worker or that type of thing. So that takes a little bit of analysis to do. So that could increase that estimated cost for that area.
So can we get those numbers by Friday this week so we can review over the weekend?
Yeah, hopefully. It's up to the chiefs to be able to help me out here. So, and they're working with me, so.
Okay, yeah, I just don't feel like we can make that vote unless we understand what the costs are. And again, I'm not trying to say that my numbers were correct in any way, shape, or manner, but I do want to see what a realistic cost would be before we vote.
Sure.
Thank you, Ms. Gentry. Anything further?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Crossy. I'm going to go with Mr. Shamir first.
The question is for Ms. Crossy. I noticed, and I went through those numbers that you had kindly generated. One of the things that I noticed is that there seemed to be an assumption that income tax would be uniform. So is the concept that you would have rotating staff that would be in that working age for that group over the life of the project? Because if we make an assumption that you have a group of 35-year-olds buying into this thing and a group of 55-year-olds buying into this thing, your effective income tax generation for the 55-year-olds would potentially be 10, 15, maximum 20 years, where your 35-year-olds would be maybe 30, maximum 40 years. But how does that carry through? Because there is going to be a decline in that income tax. And I did not see that decline in the numbers that I was looking at.
Yes, that's correct, but I did do a number of scenarios on the income tax, and one of them was assuming Avon Lake's current structure of income tax, which includes 75% of folks working outside Avon Lake. So I calculated the income tax based on 25%. Okay, of the salaries, but also one of the lowest indicators or estimates came from also assuming, along with that 25%, that 20% of the population is retired and not paying income tax. So I factored that out. So I did account for that, and I did do it in a straight line, as you say, for the years. I also noticed the other income tax projections were done that way as well. So I felt that I was going to do that on a level. If anything, I also indicated this in an email to council that I estimated the wages on the low side. So I feel that wages will also be climbing. That could account for some of the attrition that you're talking about. So there are a number of scenarios. I can do more scenarios and, more ranges, but
I would just ask for maybe a sensitivity analysis towards the low end and the high end. That way we can have that sensitivity analysis and get a clear understanding of what the revenues
I
would
did
be.
try to provide, but if we need more.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, and thank you, Mrs. Crossy, for your work. I mean, I for one, am looking forward to the follow-up to what you sent us on Friday, because I'll give my comments in a second. We've already talked a couple different times. Okay, I'm gonna go one more time. Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you. This is pretty short. One of the things that the residents have brought to us is their concern about students, and it depends on how the residentials are marketed. And when you have condos, from what vertical condos, the studies that we're getting in is that there's very, very few students that would be attending school. And so when I hear that there's going to be school-aged children there, it just goes against my understanding of the real estate. Is there something that,
Grab him. Sorry.
is there something that we need to know about services? Because you were talking about services. I don't think there's going to be school buses there. I just don't see that happening. I just don't see it attracting young families with children. Am I wrong? I mean,
I have to confirm where I saw this number. For some reason, I saw a number of 100 school-aged children, and I cannot think of what document I was looking at but I would like to confirm that before.
maybe our consultants can
I
help us.
did
Thank
see
you.
that.
That's all I have.
Ms. Gentry?
I just wanted to check with the 25% reference for, is it realistic to think that it will be in that area, 25% of the residents would find employment within Avon Lake?
25% would find employment within Avon Lake.
Right.
Well, that's the current percentage.
I know.
So that's what I used. And I also used 50%, but that's probably too high. But again,
I was thinking it might
it's
be
a
lower.
scenario.
Yeah.
So
Anything else? All right, the only thing that I want to say at this particular time is, obviously this is a huge and tremendous opportunity, but it also will require economic viability for it to go forward. And Ms. Crossy has provided us with a lot of information. I'm anticipating more information from her. I would add into the scenario, though, that, as residents of Avon Lake, the metro parks, we, through our taxes, provide a lot of money to the metro parks. And I fully anticipate that they will participate in this. I expect them to participate in it. I thought Mr. Zemanek was very clear that they wanted to, and I think that that will be a tremendous help to the economic viability of the process in the long run. Other than that, I am going to call the question. If you would call the roll, please read the motion again and then call the roll. No, go ahead.
Would you want me to read the
Yes,
motion?
yes.
Postponing the third reading of ordinance number 2636 to May 18th, 2026 for revisions.
Call the roll.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Shamir?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes.
Ms. Gentry?
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mr. Cos?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds, you're next.
Thank you.
In motions.
I move to postpone the third reading of ordinance number 26-37 to May 18th, 2026 for revisions to ordinance number 26-36.
Any more discussion, Mr. Reynolds?
Yeah, just to clarify, this is the B3 rezoning, and because this has to be considered in the same meeting as the mixed-use overlay, we will be moving it, or I'm doing a motion to move it to the same meeting, and I also want to state that my intent is to pass this as an emergency measure.
Okay, any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Cos.
Yeah, I just want to thank Mr. Reynolds for adding the emergency clause in there. I think that's really important. It helps to protect the city in that 30-day gap where this could pass, and an industrial developer could come out of nowhere. A data center, by the way, is zoned industrial, but it helps to take that angst from the community that an industrial developer could come in at the last minute and make an offer that they can't refuse and have that developed under that. So I'm appreciative for the 30-day emergency clause, or the emergency clause going in there and removing that 30-day wait. Thank you, sir.
Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Shamir.
I do have a question, and why is it that they have to pass together? I mean, I don't see anything anywhere that says that there's a requirement.
I'm going to turn that one over to the law director.
Thank you.
Ask Majid to address that one.
I'm going to ask Mr. Majid, but I'll indicate as far as that's part of the IDA agreement, as far as this simultaneously. It doesn't say it is mandatory, but it says simultaneously. It's specifically the language in the IDA. I had passed that out previously, that therefore ordinance 20, it says specifically simultaneously with the condition of adoption of overlay district, the city administration shall initiate and support both the Plan Commission and City Council, the zoning of property and the zoning designation of B3 Special Commerce District. Therefore, ordinance 26-36 and 37 should be introduced and passed at the same council meeting. Doesn't have to, but that's what's part of the IDA agreement itself that we had executed.
Yeah, Mr. McLoof, elaborate on that if you want.
Mr. McLoof?
Yeah, no, the one thing I would clarify is the IDA does not place obligations on council to pass either. The IDA places the obligation on the administration to support, and I think there's a difference between support and advocate, and the language that exists there is only support, not advocate. But the obligation is to support on the administration. The one piece of clarification, though, to keep in mind is the B3 was the city's request as a condition to pass the LMOU. So they were always anticipated to go together from day one. But that was because Allerg is opposed to the B3. They own the property. Where, rezoning their property would be against their will because the only way they're agreeing to the B3 is with the LMUO. So the anticipation all along that they go together as a package and they're drafted as a package. But the simple answer is the IDA does not place any obligations on City Council.
So if I may have a
Yes, go
follow-up
ahead.
question. So if what I'm hearing is ALERG is against the movement from I to B3, but when I heard the questions asked previous by Mr. Koss and or Ms. Gentry about this, they said that they could pass separately.
Again, the IDA places no obligations on council. But what I'm saying is the B3 was in the negotiations of the IDA was a demand of the city. So the city said, if we're willing to consider the overlay district, we want to zone the underlying to B3. So that was a demand from the city. ALERG accepted it, conditioned on them being done together, but there is no obligations on council.
So where is that, I mean, in that agreement, where was it that ALERG, I mean, everything else is pretty much locked down and nailed to the coffin, but where was it that it said in those agreements or in those discussions that they should be passed or should be looked at together?
It doesn't, again, the agreement doesn't talk about the passage, it talks about the introduction, the passing through.
So we could pass it tonight?
Legally, there's nothing barring council from passing it tonight, but again, this was always done that they go together hand in hand. That was always the understanding. That was part of the package. That was part of the understanding. But again, we were very careful. The IDA did not place any obligations on the Planning Commission, didn't place any obligations on the council. That's always been the case. The only obligation under the IDA is on the administration to move it, to support the process.
Thank you.
If I quit, it's in the agreement, page 3 of 8. Number 8.
Okay. All right. Yes, Mayor.
Yeah, we had a lot of public questions and I think some from council. We have all our experts here from both sides. Do we want to entertain if they want to answer any of the questions or answer questions from council before we move on?
Mrs. Goodwin.
Thank you. I did want to ask, that was my last point that I was going to make, because I was someone who suggested the language around the park over the weekend, and I was wondering if Majid could come back up and just summarize, like, what that point was, because I know Mr. Hunt did, but if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, no, and I'll put the caveat, I've been in arbitration the entire day and the language came in, so I barely looked at it at the screen. But the idea was the Councilwoman Goodwin wanted to make sure that at the time that there was a development plan for the development of the project, that the city has a plan for the development and maintenance of the park that's in place, that's a viable development, that's a sustainable development. So I think we had suggested language, it went to ALERG. ALERG came back with that revision. But again, honestly, I think it came at 4 p.m. I literally left downtown Cleveland at 6:30 and drove here, so
That's okay. Thank you. I just wanted to highlight that was that revision and where it came from. So it was very clear. And to repeat what Mr. Hunt said earlier was that this was the thought, and this was not to hold up development of anything surrounding the parkland, but I think for accountability on our end too, to make sure that we're living up to our agreement of building and maintaining parkland, so that we are working with the developer to make sure that that is a viable and a sustainable piece of land for the entire community, not just who resides there. And again, with the understanding that we cannot make them do anything, that this is just, we're building with them. Is that?
That was the intent.
Yes, that.
No,
I-
that is the intent. I mean, in
That
terms
was
of
my,
place-
correct, right.
Especially in a zoning ordinance,
Yes.
placing an obligation on a private party to come up with. You can't do that, but the idea here is it's all together, and the obligation is on the city, obviously, to make sure that it's all in place and council be satisfied with it.
Okay.
But I said that correctly.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Goodwin. Anyone else? Okay, if you'd read. Oh,
1 minute?
yes.
Thanks, Council President. I just want to reiterate that the only reason we agreed to not contest a B3 rezoning was at the same time that the LMUO would be passed. So if the LMUO is not passed, we do not agree with B3 zoning.
Okay.
Okay.
I think all the council understands that, so thank you. But I mean, even under the ID, under the document, it's for the council to make that determination. And we will do that. Okay, anything further? If you'd read the motion?
Postponing the third reading of ordinance number 26-37 to May 18th, 2026 for revisions to ordinance number 26-36.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Shamir?
No.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes.
Ms. Gentry?
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mr. Koss.
Yes.
Okay, that motion's passed 6-1. We're on to the legislation portion of the evening. There are no third readings, as they were both continued to May 18th. If the clerk would read by total, or we're on to the second readings. If the clerk would read by title only, Resolution 26-39.
A resolution acknowledging acceptance of a capital improvement community park recreation conservation project pass-through grant agreement with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and declaring an emergency.
Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you. This is only the second reading. We're going to have a third reading. House Bill number 2 in the 135th General Assembly of the State of Ohio appropriated funds in the amount of $50,000 to make a grant for the costs associated with the construction of a park and recreation or conservation facility in appropriation item C725E2, which we describe as the Avon Lake Veterans Park gazebo. $1,000 of it, the appropriations, will be used by Ohio Department of Natural Resources for administration of the project. The work has been done. The Capital Improvement Community Park Recreation Conservation Project pass-through grant will then be reimbursing the cost for constructing the project. And this also includes a side path. Thank you.
Any
The
questions?
resolution, when we vote on
ahead.
it next time, if passed, it will be declared to be an emergency measure. The emergency being the necessity of accepting funds to reimburse the cost of constructing the gazebo. This is for the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Fenderbosh? That'll conclude the second reading of resolution number 26-39. If the clerk would read by title only, ordinance number 26-41.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 25-193, appropriations for fiscal year 2026, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is the first reading. The plan is to pass this on the second reading. I will turn the dais over to Ms. Crossy.
Thank you. So this is an ordinance that amends the original budget for 2026, and this happens periodically during the year where we need to either increase or decrease appropriations from the original budget. And I did just want to point out a few of the larger adjustments that we're asking for. So that includes increases to general fund for an employee legal settlement, and also to the recreation, or the technology fund, I'm sorry, for the maintenance and technology costs for the community center at the former school, and also some additional expenses for the proposed bond sale that has been approved by council. And also Avon Lake Regional Water has included the purchase of the property from Shibley Solvents as a budget adjustment. So that is what I have. Anyone have any
Anyone have any questions on the budget adjustments? All right, we'll be having that next Monday on a second reading, and I'll be asking for a suspension of the rules on that. That concludes the first reading of ordinance number 26-41. If the clerk could read by title only, resolution number 26-42.
A resolution adopting and declaring the 2027 tax budget and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is going to go through 3 full readings. This is the tax budget, which we send over to the county. I'll again turn this over to Mrs. Crossy.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. So, as Mr. Smith said, this is the preliminary budget that goes to the county, upon which they issue our first certificate for 2027. And we developed the budget using the 2026 budget as a baseline, and we increased personnel costs 3%, which is in line with the union contracts, and operating costs we increased an estimated 2%. And there were some other adjustments made. We do keep, for purposes of this tax budget, we keep the revenues level with 2026. And as we have done that, we will, I'd like to just remind council that with this budget, and again, it's very preliminary and will be changed during budget season when we look at these things, there are once again for 2027, no new funds available for capital costs, which includes the roads. So that concludes. Does anyone have any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for the finance director? All right, that concludes the first reading of resolution number 26-42. Council, are there any miscellaneous business and/or announcements? Mr. Kaz.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Council President. I want to just come back to this document that was talked a lot about tonight, Mr. Mayor. I don't know the best way that we could make this public. I mean, the 15, 20 people that were in the room tonight got it, and we talked a lot about it. There's a lot of information that we've been talking about and people have been wanting to see. So if you could find the best way with your staff to make this public and readily available, I think it would be very helpful.
We will do that, no problem.
Thank you.
Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you. So last week, whenever we had this part of our meeting, I had shared with you about the upcoming fundraiser for the Avon Lake Garden Club. It was this past Saturday, and it was at the Goddard School. And I just want to thank the community. This was the most successful fundraiser that we've had. You were very supportive with it. And the few plants that were left were taken over to the thrift shop on Lear Road. But I just want to thank the community again for the support of the Avon Lake Garden Club. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else? All right, Mr. Kaz,
Move to adjourn.
please call the roll.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Shamir?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes.
Ms. Gentry?
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mr. Koss.
Yes.
All right, thank you all very much. The meeting is adjourned.